are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, the show must go on.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Monday always comes. Hey, Crudy, good to be with you once again.
You know, the only one that really had a worse week than Donald Trump, or perhaps yours truly, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson.
The worst
I mean,
week?
I think Ron might have had the worst week in Swampland last week.
Come on. He came on this fine program. I'm sure it was the highlight of his week.
Well, he had a number of lowlights as well. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson kind of got slapped around by Chuck Todd on Meet the Press yesterday.
Not the Chuck Todd, man.
I mean, really, I was waiting for Chuck.
Mike.
Well, I think we got more information out of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson when he appeared on our show on Wednesday. And Dom, you pulled out some sound of that. And we're going to go to that sound, the sound of Ron on our show. You know, just some snippets, not out of context.
Just a flavor.
But just a flavor, because I think we caught Ron in a big timeline lie, perhaps, and he promptly stuttered.
Mike.
He got stuck. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. But he wasn't feeling stuck at all. He was free Ron yesterday on the Chuck Todd. He was full conspiracy theory. I mean, it's pretty bad when Chuck Todd shows a spine. But Chuck Todd had to show spine and push back on Senator Ron Johnson.
It was great. It was great to see.
Something you have never done.
Oh, come on. You know, he was... When I addressed this, and we made a promo out of it the last time, not past this past week, but the time before that, when he, continually says, and it bothers me when he says this, this whole Mueller investigation was about nothing. And I think to myself, there's 400 plus pages of what you would describe as nothing. There's like 10 counts of obstruction. There's hundreds plus contacts with Russian individuals with the campaign. And you're going to tell me that's nothing? I have a big problem with it. But out of deference to the senator, when he was here last week, I kind of got on him a little bit, and then he gave me the, "Could I please finish?" And so I let him finish. Chuck Todd wasn't so nice.
Dom Todd. You know why you had courage to stand up to Ron Johnson these last two times? Because I was there with you, propping you up, as they might say.
Thank you, Michael. It's always better show with you.
Chuck Todd, he took in and lit into Rojo, our buddy Ron Johnson. Don, we've got sound of this. I'm going to let you call the shots.
Fancy Brian did lots of work on this. Thank you, my dear friend. Let's get to it. In case you missed it, Rojo on the Chuck Todd at the very beginning. Some very simple questions, it would seem, but the senator had his own agenda. Cut 10.
Why did you wince, and what did you mean by those two things combined?
Well, first of all, your setup piece was, typically very unbiased. But let me first,
Sarcasm.
Before I start answering all the detailed questions, let me just talk about why I'm pretty sympathetic with what President Trump has gone through. I'm 64 years old. I have never in my lifetime seen a president, after being elected, not having some measure of well wishes from his opponents.
What about
I've never
Obama?
seen a president's administration be sabotaged from the day after election. I've never seen no measure of honeymoon whatsoever.
Obama. I mean, they had a dinner in D.C., and their determination was to make Barack Obama a one-term president, and their plan was basically obstruct. There was zero honeymoon. They did so on the inauguration night, if I recall my history, Dom.
Right.
Poor Ron Johnson. Of course, he wasn't there for that inauguration night. He was not elected until when? 2010, Dom? So I guess he's claiming ignorance of Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and his party's intransigence since day one.
And let's again remember the initial question asked by Chuck Todd. Why did you wince, and what did you mean by those things combined? Cut 11, please, Brian.
And so what President Trump's had to endure, a false accusation. By the way, you've got John Brennan on. You ought to ask Director Brennan, what did Peter Strzok mean when he texted Lisa Page on December 15, 2016?
Senator,
Deep states
Senator,
No, Chuck, let me finish.
What does this have to
sisters
do
have begun
with
leaking like
Ukraine?
mad, scorned and
What
worried.
does this have to do with Ukraine?
It has everything to do with Ukraine. Now listen, think our sisters have begun leaking like mad, scorned and worried and political. They're kicking into overdrive. Now that was December 15th. 6 days before that is when we first started hearing the CIA leaking about Russia supporting the Trump campaign. That is why Trump is so upset.
All right, and there he goes again. He had to endure these false accusations, and I would again point to 400-plus pages of the Mueller report. Those are not false accusations. Those are very specific accusations, and in fact, if we were to be able to see the unredacted version, I would imagine we'd see a very clear line from Russia to WikiLeaks to Trump's campaign and Trump. But we don't get to see that yet. So for a senator and the chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs to stand up there and say he had to endure a false accusation is just so disingenuous. I would have had a hard time to let him go on with that.
I was waiting for Benghazi and Hillary's emails. He didn't lead there at least.
Let's keep going. Rojo on the Chuck Todd, cut 12.
He had this false narrative that resulted in him being set up by James Comey on January 16th. Then he has a special counsel appointed that has hampered his entire investigation, his entire administration. And now, once that was proven false, he would like to know, and I would like to know, and I know his supporters would like to know, where did this all come from? Who planted that false story?
Senator,
who leaked? I have my third letter into the Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee asking to just confirm, are you investigating those leaks that Peter Strzok talked about in that text?
Senator, I have no idea
so again,
why.
No, that's a setup. It is entirely irrelevant to this point.
Why a Fox News conspiracy propaganda stuff is popping up on here? I have no idea.
It is not.
I have no idea why we're going here.
No, that's of my own creation. Let's not forget, Ron was the genesis. He's the oranges of the deep state theory that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were texting back. They were going to take Trump out. They were part of a deep state society or whatever. I mean, these lovers' texts, and no doubt they were inappropriate, but Strzok was investigating Hillary Clinton, not Donald Trump, and they were exposed and they were removed from the investigatory team of Mueller immediately. They didn't influence the outcome of the Trump investigation. But I thought Ron had backpedaled on the whole deep state theory, and even he, I think on this fine program, had readily admitted, maybe I read too much into that.
Yes, I do recall. Let's continue on. Senator Johnson on NBC, Meet the Press, cut 13.
That is,
Senator,
because
I'm
this is
asking
underlying exactly why
asking-
President Trump is upset and why his supporters are upset at the news media.
Okay,
Chuck,
this is not
here's
about the media.
Here's the
Senator
deal.
Johnson,
The
Senator
bias in the
Johnson,
media is
please.
revealed.
Can we please answer the question that I asked you instead of trying to make Donald Trump feel better here that you're not criticizing him? I'm just trying to ask you a simple question of what made you wince. I'm asking a simple question about you clearly were upset that somehow there was an implication that military aid was being frozen because the president wanted an investigation. Why did you wince?
Because I didn't want those connected. And I was supporting the aid, as is Senator Murphy, as is everybody that went to that initial inauguration. But here's the salient point of why I came forward. When I asked the president about that, he completely denied it. He adamantly denied it. He vehemently,
strongly denied it.
He said, I'd never do that.
Powerful denial. Powerful denial. He also denied knowing anything about hush money payments to the porn star Stormy Daniels. So really,
strong, powerful.
No matter what he says, you have to question it. That's the problem when you have a habitual liar as president. You can't tell when he's lying, when he's telling the truth, or when he's joking, Crudy.
I don't think he was joking.
Oh, that's the
There was
new
no
one.
smile on his face. There was no humor in his tone. He said, hey, Ukraine, and oh yeah, you China. Let's dig a little dirt on my political enemy, Joe Biden.
That was just a joke. Let's continue on. Senator Johnson, cut 14.
So that is the piece of the puzzle. I'm here to report today that unlike the narrative of the press that President Trump wants to dig up dirt on his 2020 opponent, what he wants is an accounting of what happened in 2016. Who set him up? Did things spring from Ukraine?
Set him up?
There's a good piece we've got an oversight letter on from Politico in 2017, where let me quote the article. It says Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump. They did so by disseminating documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption, suggesting they were investigating the matter.
Are we talking about
Ukrainian
Paul
officials
Manafort
also
here?
reportedly helped Clinton allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors. There is potential interference in the 2016.
Now, the person that is attributed, the leaker or whatever he's perceiving this person to be, is a journalist and be a member of the Ukrainian government, and that's apparently acceptable under their constitution. But Ron, this isn't some random. I mean, they took the former president's black book, and it was exposed at a corruption trial, and the guy was convicted. The guy's sitting in prison, Ron. This wasn't Hillary Clinton's team digging dirt on Trump. This was criminal straight-line corruption between Paul Manafort, who accepted millions of dollars and then did not report that to the United States government. A, the fact that he's working as a foreign agent, or B, the fact that he's bringing the money back in under very, very shady circumstances.
Well, and let's not forget, of course, the former Ukrainian president fled, and that's the former Ukrainian president, who was Paul Manafort's client, let's not forget, was a Russian patsy. After the civil war, he fled to Russia, and of course there was investigations as to how dirty this whole thing was, and Manafort, shockingly, was caught up in that because he's a corrupt bastard as well.
Well, Manafort not only caught up in that, he was offering Trump campaign insight polling to Deripaska. They go to a restaurant, that's an oligarch, that was currently under sanctions by the U.S. government that it's subsequently been loosened up by the Trump administration.
That's just the DNC digging up dirt on Trump.
After he put $200 million into Mitch McConnell's Kentucky district.
Ooh, let's not forget that.
Deripaska wanted the dirt. Manafort was trying to make himself whole for debts he owed. This is all so disingenuous, Ron Johnson. Manafort was a crook. And this was not some foreign effort to support the campaign of Hillary Clinton. This happened after Donald Trump was elected. They were trying to wreck his campaign. This was a criminal prosecution of a criminal that ran his campaign. Right. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. I know I've had a few bad days, weeks, months, years. But I'm telling you, Ron Johnson, I don't know if I've had a week like Ron Johnson had ever. I mean, I think he had a worse week than Trump. And Trump's being impeached right now. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We'll open up the lines to you. It's toll-free all day long. That might change tomorrow. 844-967-2789.
If you think that I'll be just like you, you thought you were there to guide me. You were only in my way. You're wrong if you think that.
Ron
Johnson is right.
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? Infinity.
I think our side's been proven very strongly, and everybody's talking about it. And frankly, it should be discussed.
You're crazy.
ATU Local 998 turns the key on Chris Abley's Pandora's Box when economist Peter Donahue joins the Earl Ingram Show this Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Abley's county budget threatens transit service cuts, the parks, and other departments. All are at risk while Chris Abley is doing deliberate deficit by design, playing shell games with the county budget. If you care about how your tax dollars are being spent, tune into economist Peter Donahue Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Earl Ingram Show. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
More power, more fight, the most heart. Gingras, Thompson & Walks is more than a law firm. We're family. We believe in doing our best to help people in need and right the wrong that's occurred. For more than 35 years, we've helped thousands of clients across the state of Wisconsin get the justice they deserve. Our proven track record of success isn't based solely on our knowledge of the judicial system. Rather, we make it our priority to get to know our clients and their cases so we can best represent them. Gingras, Thompson & Walks. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and out on Twitter. You can hit us up on the phones, talk or text, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, there have been so many moving parts. I just want to make sure I got this right. So I'm reading briefly from an article at the Business Insider. Talking about Paul Manafort. You know, Ron Johnson, our senator, I'll leave out the typical adjective many stick in there when they talk about Ron Johnson, because he's a friend of the show. But wanted to make sure I got this accurately. When Manafort joined the Trump campaign, let's not forget, he wasn't a coffee boy. He was the campaign manager.
He replaced, what's his face?
Well, he replaced Lewandowski.
Lewandowski, yes. Okay.
When Manafort joined the Trump campaign, he owed Oleg Deripaska close to $20 million. According to legal complaints Deripaska's lawyers filed in the Cayman Islands and New York. Manafort's debt to Deripaska attracted scrutiny last year after The Atlantic published several emails appearing to show Manafort using his elevated role in the Trump campaign to resolve his conflict with Deripaska. Manafort reportedly wrote an email to his associate, the former Russian-Ukrainian intelligence operative Konstantin Kilimnik, offering to give Deripaska private briefings about the campaign. Mm-hmm. By the way, Kilimnik was indicted by Mueller this month. This article from the summer of 2018. I assume you've shown our friends my media coverage, right? Manafort reportedly wrote to Kilimnik. Absolutely, replied Kilimnik. Every article. How do we use this to get whole? Manafort responded, has been seen, and former intelligence officials told Business Insider that Manafort was likely offering the briefings in an effort to repay his debt to Deripaska. Investigators have concluded that the OVD was a reference to Deripaska's old name, Oleg Vladimir Deripaska. I'll skip the middle name. Vlad. Let's call him Vlad. So anyways, I think I was mostly right on that.
While, of course, Manafort was like around the campaign as some sort of advisor, says here that on June 20th of 2016 is when Trump fired Corey Lewandowski and promoted Manafort to the position. So he officially became campaign manager on June 20th of 2016, certainly an advisor of sorts before that.
Well, Manafort was supposed to shepherd Trump through the nomination process because let's not forget, when he got to Cleveland, there were still Republicans trying to heave him ho, right? There was still a dump Trump movement afoot at the RNC convention. And Manafort's job was to count the delegates and made sure that Trump got the bid. And Manafort was on the stage with him that night. And now Manafort's sitting in a federal prison, because he was trying to undermine Trump's campaign and prop up Hillary Clinton. It had nothing to do with his own prior corruption. And the, sort of transgental connection to the Trump campaign and the fact that, he was using his connection with the Trump campaign to make himself whole on a $20 million debt he owed to a Russian oligarch. No, I'm sure it's all.
Come on, Manafort was set up. It's a setup, man. Just like Trump, everybody in prison is a setup, right? Isn't that what they
Everybody's innocent in prison, right, Tom?
Let's keep going here. Senator Ron Johnson on his interview. Meet the Press, cut 15, please, Brian.
Let me ask you this.
That's what Trump wants to get to the bottom of, but the press doesn't want to.
Ambassador,
the people who wrote this article are being pilloried. I'm being called a conspiracy theorist. John Solomon is being called a conspiracy theorist because the press is horribly biased, and Trump and his supporters completely understand that.
I understand that the way to avoid answering a question is to attack us in the press. I'm well aware of that.
Of course. Let's keep going.
The press is horribly biased towards the truth and facts.
1 minute left. Let's get Rojo in, cut 16.
Well, certainly the reports, not only from Rudy Giuliani, but from Ken Vogel out of Politico and John Solomon doing some pretty good investigative reporting. Now the Washington Post is attacking him, undermining him. All that information, we have never got the answers to those questions. Chuck, I want to get to the truth. I'm not here defending the president. I'm not here to denounce him either. What I'm here is telling you my piece of the puzzle here, giving you my honest assessment of what I heard, how the president told me repeatedly in the May 23rd Oval Office visit, on the phone on the 31st, the reason he had very legitimate concerns and reservations about Ukraine is first, corruption, generalized, it's endemic. We all know that.
Ron, you can't handle the truth. Come back with us. Nothing but the truth spoken here. Devil's Advocates. Happy Monday.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at DomandFruit.com.
Ron Johnson's right about Ron Johnson's being right.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators. We've officially moved into our new space off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and we're excited to announce that Madison Liquidators is now Dane County's premier dealer for Groupe Lacoste. In addition to their unbeatable 25-year warranty, Groupe Lacoste has 10 lines to choose from, ranging from traditional to ultra-modern, all available in 18 different finishes. Give me a call and let's make a plan for your space, or go online to MadisonLiquidators.com and shop our complete inventory of used office furniture.
Eric Holder, he's the former U.S. Attorney General and current chair of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.
The notion that Scott Walker is saying that we are doing something to push partisan gerrymandering, that is the pot calling the kettle total black. I mean, that's absurd. He is one of the architects of among the most gerrymandered states in the union. All we're pushing for is a fair process come 2021.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Pobletti, and our report for Monday, October 7th is brought to you by Spectrum. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson said President Trump was, quote, just trying to get to the truth, with the Ukraine president on a phone call now at the center of the House impeachment inquiry. But first, Johnson had a contentious interview on Meet the Press that included host Chuck Todd asking the Oshkosh Republican why he was pushing a, quote, Fox News conspiracy propaganda stuff, rather than answering questions. Johnson accused Todd of a biased setup when asked by the host why the senator, quote, winced when he heard the Trump administration was tying Ukraine aid to investigating Joe Biden and his son. Johnson also said he was sympathetic to what Trump has gone through and doesn't trust the FBI or CIA. Johnson also told Todd that when he asked the president about the prospect of quid pro quo with U.S. aid to the Ukraine, Trump adamantly denied the link. He argued the president was right to ask foreign governments for assistance to investigate corruption. Additionally, a new poll conducted in Wisconsin for Fox News shows Joe Biden ahead of Donald Trump, and respondents split about impeaching the president. Biden topped Trump 48% to 39%. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders was backed by 45% of voters compared to 40% who supported the president, and Elizabeth Warren was supported by 45% compared to 41% for Trump. The poll found Trump winning rural voters over Biden by just 2 points after he won among rural voters by 27 points in 2016, when he eked out a roughly 23,000 vote victory in Wisconsin. 42% of those surveyed wanted Trump impeached and removed from office, while 4% want him impeached but not removed. 45% opposed impeaching the president. Finally, in an interview aired Sunday on Upfront, produced in partnership with WestPolitics.com, Johnson said, quote, the president, as I interpret that, is trying to get to the truth. I have no problem with that. Johnson said the content of the phone call between Trump and Ukraine's president should have been kept confidential under executive privilege. He called its release harmful and unfortunate. Presidents, Johnson said, need to be able to, quote, offer very candid advice, sometimes out-of-the-box thinking, and that really should not be made available to the public. For WisPolitics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Pat Pobletti.
This has been WisPolitics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wispolitics.com.
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Ohio Democratic presidential debates Tuesday, October 15th, beginning at 7 p.m. 12 candidates debate live from Otterbein University in Ohio. Hosted by CNN and the New York Times, live debate coverage begins at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 15th on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's a Monday. I don't like Mondays so much, but I do enjoy doing a radio show, so I guess we got to do a Monday show as well.
You can't get away from it.
But I don't care how bad a day I think I'm having. Ron Johnson had he had a bad day. He had a really, really bad Sunday, followed by, his whole week was bad. All the days leading up to Sunday, they were bad days. The last good day he had was in the embracive arms of Righty Whitey Talk Radio last Monday when Dan O'Donnell said, "Oh, Senator, let me fluff it up for you. Winner rules." That's the last time Ron had a good day. Last Monday, I suspect.
844-967-2789. Be patient. We will get to the callers. Want to blast through the remainder of the Ron Johnson sound from yesterday on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd showing some spine yesterday, I guess. Let's go cut number 17.
And then specifically about what kind of
Paul Manafort was
in the 2016 election, and also the fact that Europe is not stepping up the plate.
You think Paul Manafort was framed?
No. Obviously he was convicted, but there's a lot of other stuff going on back then too. Hillary Clinton's campaign was searching for dirt, maybe not only on Paul Manafort, but trying to keep Vice President Biden out of the primary for the Democratic campaign.
No, he wasn't framed. He was convicted. Of course, that's the whole point of being framed, right? I'm not clear on his answer. I guess the senator thinks that Paul Manafort was not framed. But here's the point, man. You have subpoena power. If you think there's this deep state something going on, issue your subpoenas. Go to a judge. Do your thing. Whatever you got to do, man. Make it happen. Why are you sitting here going around on the talk shows and talking this garbage? You have an ability to subpoena people and ask them specific questions under oath. Do you not, sir? Let's keep
He
going.
does.
Cut 18.
He does.
So again, Chuck, the bottom line is there are so many questions unanswered.
So many questions.
So again, ask John Brennan.
Let me ask you this.
What was Peter Strzok? What did Peter Strzok mean when the sisters began leaking like mad?
Yeah.
What was the CIA scorned and worried about? What were they kicking into overdrive? There's a key question I want answered among, I don't know, about 100 others.
So, Senator, do you not believe the Russians interfered in the presidential elections to benefit Donald Trump?
They absolutely did. They absolutely did. And I don't know to what extent the Ukrainians did. I don't know to what extent DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign were involved in kind of juicing up the Ukrainian involvement.
Secret, I got a secret.
I look forward to your subpoenas to the DNC and Hillary Clinton then. Ron, you're the chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee in the Senate. You could do something about it. He says he's been investigating, right? Have you seen anything public on this?
No, I did ask him if he had ever subpoenaed Hillary Clinton. He claimed he had not as a chairman of a committee at least. No, I mean, when Ron's out there flailing, I mean, really, it's Matt Gaetz and Ron and Jim Jordan flailing on behalf of this president. And every single one of them, all three of these, very Republicans, they all looked horrible in their appearances, Don, because, of course, there is no real defense. All Ron's got as a defense for his buddy Donald Trump is some conspiracy theories. Yeah, the Washington Post is making fun of John Solomon because he's a conspiracy theorist. And this whole Ukrainian thing that him and Schweitzer have led Rudy Giuliani and the president to believe in, and suddenly you've got the tinfoil hat and the Kool-Aid, the whole thing of Kool-Aid, Ron. You've all bought into this unsupported conspiracy theory because even Schweitzer doesn't offer any evidence. John Solomon is an opinion writer, and his own colleagues at thehill.com want him fired because his opinions are unsupported by the facts. But these are the only two quote-unquote journalists out there putting out the kind of information that Ron Johnson and Donald Trump used to prop up their conspiracy theories. These are not credible people. This is like holding up Project Veritas and saying, see what James O'Keefe found? That's about how much credibility Solomon has at this late hour and Schweitzer has at this late hour. The Clinton cash guy. Well, this is his new effort to, point out the corruption. And it's all allegation without evidence.
And let's not forget, again, I'm going to remind people, I want you to remember this specifically when you hear this next cut of Senator Ron Johnson. He's the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. His comments regarding the CIA and FBI, cut 19.
Well, you just ask there are a lot of unanswered questions. Chuck, I just want the truth. The American people want the truth.
So do you not trust the FBI? You don't trust the CIA?
No,
I'm just very confused here.
Absolutely
you don't trust
not.
either
After
of those
Peter Strzok
agencies.
and Lisa Page?
Okay.
After James Comey?
You believe the FBI and the CIA,
John
these
Brennan? No, I don't
agencies?
trust any of these guys in the Obama administration. I don't trust any of them.
You don't trust them now? You trust them now?
No, I didn't trust them back then.
And you don't trust them now?
I do not trust John Brennan. I do not trust.
Do you trust the CIA and FBI now? Because none of them have come to any of the conclusions you're trying to come to. I'm just curious. Do you trust them now?
Now, who are you talking about?
The CIA and the FBI.
I don't trust Andrew McCabe.
Do you
I don't trust Andrew McCabe. I don't trust James Comey. I don't trust Peter Strzok. I don't trust John Brennan.
I think he's got trust issues, Don.
You think?
I mean, it is truly a conspiracy theory to think that the CIA and the FBI that was described during the 2016 campaign as Trumpland, it is truly conspiratorial to think that they cannot be trusted to investigate. And it's Donald Trump's Department of Justice that directs the FBI. If they are so truly polluted with partisans over at the FBI, Ron, why isn't Trump's buddy Bill Barr cleaning house?
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And I'm not clear that Ron wanted to go on record. It seemed like he said he didn't trust them, but then he kind of defined a few people that he didn't trust. He wouldn't go on record specifically, perhaps. That's my impression.
Well, the former CIA director, John Brennan, was the next guest post-Ron. Yeah. Well, that's not true. Chris Murphy was there. And, I mean, Democrat Chris Murphy was waiting in the wings while Ron Johnson was having this unhinged interview with Chuck Todd. And then it was Chris Murphy, and then it was former CIA Director John Brennan. And maybe it was the fact that Brennan was going to go on the air and contradict Ron, but Ron was all kinds of triggered.
Well, and again, this is the Trump administration right now, and these are Trump appointees. And if there is an issue, obviously Barr is going to be the guy to clean house, as you mentioned, Crudy. And if that hasn't happened or didn't happen or is not going to happen, then what the hell are you talking about? I mean, you're not going to get a more friendly leadership at the DOJ than you have right now. And if he's not going through, I guess technically they're doing the investigation, right? That's why they're going to Italy and they're going to the UK and they're going over to Ukraine to, crack the case.
But I'm not clear that that's the case, because if the FBI thought that there was legitimately U.S. laws that either Hunter Biden or Joe Biden had broken, well, the FBI would be the appropriate agency to do these sort of investigations, even internationally. You know who's not the appropriate guy to call for investigations, to my humble opinion?
Rudy Giuliani?
The President of the United States, a private lawyer in Rudy Giuliani, and even Bill Barr. I mean, Bill Barr, within his abilities to call for broad corruption investigations and cooperate with foreign powers, if he's doing so at the direction of the United States, for the benefit of the United States, and not simply for the benefit of the candidacy of his boss, Donald Trump.
Let's do cut 20.
Senator, let me ask you this.
I've got a lot of questions that remain unanswered.
One of the things that you came on here to do.
Chuck.
I just want
the truth. No, you set this thing up totally biased. I could never really get into the full narrative. We don't have enough time to go through all the things I can talk about in
You're
terms
right,
of
because you came here and chose to bring up something about Lisa Page and Peter Strzok
with something incredibly biased that I would never be able to get the truth out.
Senator, I don't know why you just came on here to personally attack the press and avoid answering questions about what's happened here.
Because of your setup
Senator,
piece.
It's pretty clear we're only dealing with the facts that we have, not the facts that you wish them to be.
And I can't get the answers.
He can't get the answers.
I make these allegations, and despite all my wants, no one seemingly will go and investigate these rampant conspiracy theories as I what?
But he can. That's the point. He can. He can do it right now. He can issue subpoenas for everybody. Do it then. Put your mark out there, Senator Johnson. Make history. Either prove it or move along. Let's do the last one, cut 21.
And I can't get the answers. The American people can't get the answers. Something pretty fishy happened during the 2016 campaign and in the transition, in the early part of the Trump presidency, and we still don't know. Robert Mueller was completely blinded. He never looked into any of that.
You're choosing not.
And he should have.
You're just making a choice.
William Barr will.
You're making a choice
hopefully
not
William
to
Barr
believe.
Will get to the bottom of this.
You're making a choice not to believe the investigations that have taken place.
No, I'm trying to get to the truth. I want to look at the entire truth, Chuck. The media doesn't.
And the truth is only when it benefits, when you believe it's politically comfortable with you? I don't understand. What truth are you looking for?
I want the complete truth.
I want the complete truth. I'm sorry that you chose to come on this way, Senator. Thanks very much.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
844-967-2789. We got a call from Bob Mueller, currently residing in Oshkosh. Welcome back, Bob. What do you got for us?
I ain't got much to say. I just want to say it was kind of funny watching Ron's veins pop out of his neck on Sunday.
Yeah, but Hillary.
But Hillary.
Deep state. Deep state.
I'm going to get the truth up somehow.
Somehow, some way. Thanks for the call, Bob. He can absolutely...
Sodium pentothal for everybody.
He can do it. It's just... And you're right, Crudy. If there is wrongdoing, the FBI should investigate. Not Bill Barr personally. Not Rudy Giuliani going outside of normal channels to these other intelligence agencies from other countries to try to dig up this dirt. If there is a crime committed, for God's sakes, Ron, hold a hearing. Do it. What are you holding a hearing on Chuck Todd's show for? Do it right now. Send subpoenas out for everybody. Hand them out like candy, Ron. Get to the truth.
Now, I haven't fully flushed out this newest story, but I saw it reported at the Associated Press this weekend. Rudy Giuliani was trying to get, a piece of a Ukrainian natural gas deal, as was Rick Perry? I mean, they were, literally doing exactly self-enriching off, petroleum, natural gas deals in the Ukraine? Literally self-enriching in the same way that they're accusing Hunter Biden and Joe Biden of doing. I mean, the irony, it's so...
Well, then it goes to show.
If I get flummoxed by the
But that's
hypocrisy.
the thing. So they know what they're doing, and maybe they knew they got caught. So like, hey, well, if Biden did it or was doing it, we can accuse him of doing it. That way, it'll make it look not as bad when it comes out that we were doing what we're accusing Biden of doing.
Now, I have not seen a direct connection to the president yet in this newest, influence for natural gas deal. But Rudy Giuliani, he's got his filthy fingerprints all over this one. 844.
Yes, go ahead.
967-2789.
Mark from the sack.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's pretty rich. And Ron Johnson forgot the old thing: if you tell the truth, you don't need to worry what lie you're telling at the time, because the whole thing that the question I'd ask Ron Johnson: well, why did the Republican Party platform change in 2016 from being pretty hostile toward Russia, toward Vlad, come here and kiss us? I mean, it just is. It's not even shocking anymore. I mean, they throw this. They keep it's. I guess 1984 is running on one of the television channels. They showed the guy cutting out facts and then pasting something else and or rearranging the words, in the headlines and the newspaper articles, because none of the stuff he's talking about is actual factual. I mean, yes, Lisa Strzok or Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were sending text messages critical of Donald Trump, but they're also sending text messages critical of Hillary Clinton, if memory serves. And the whole thing of it was George Papadopoulos went and talked to the Australian ambassador, was talking smart. And the ambassador says, boy, and the ambassador didn't know if he was telling the truth or not. He says it was concerning enough for him to report it to the FBI. And that's the kind of way investigations get open. And you're right. Ron Johnson has the power to have his committee subpoena all these people and have them all come in. And my guess is they would probably come in and not hide behind, well, it was executive privilege at the time Barack Obama was president, so we don't need to talk to you about anything. They'd probably come in and talk. I mean, if you're actually telling the truth, why is Donald Trump hiding all this stuff? Release all the documentations. If it's going to be all exculpatory, then release all these documents.
Appreciate the call, Mark. 844-967-2789. You can be like Mark. You can call us. Who thought Ron Johnson did a marvelous job yesterday morning on the Meet the Press with the Chuck Todd?
Oh, of course, Donald Trump.
Yes. Also, one other little show note. Our pal Bill Dunn, a former journalist in his own right, lets us know recent breaking news. John Solomon leaving the Hill. Joined Fox News.
Of course he did.
The president apparently needs more air support. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open for you. 844-96-PARTY.
Yesterday's gone. I want the truth.
They don't hold themselves constrained to the truth, which makes it very difficult to debate them.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
I always want to tell the truth. When I can, I tell the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
It isn't truth. Truth isn't truth. I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Connie executive Chris Abele wants to look like a hero. He just announced that he is restoring pieces of bus service that he had cut for 2020. Why did Abele cut those routes anyway? He claims a budget deficit, but upon a recent Economist investigation, last year, MCTS operating expenses were under budget. In fact, almost $46 million under budget since 2015. How did that happen? Last year, MCTS personnel expenses were under budget, and they have been nearly $40 million under budget since 2015. This is part of a larger expose on the county budget. Look for it in local news in the coming weeks. Isn't it time to stop MCTS deficit by design at the expense of riders and employees? Call Chris Abley and tell him to put Milwaukee Transit Service on a secure funding basis once and for all. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Exclamation point.
Her hair is hollow gold.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
I got a piece here from the Raw story. Sarah Burris. After a full day of mockery on Twitter, Senator Ron Johnson has become destroyed for being unprepared to answer questions about President Donald Trump's Ukraine call. Nearly 12 hours after Meet the Press aired Sunday, Trump seems to have finally heard or seen the show and struck out against the criticism. Now, here is what the president tweeted. Sleepy-eyed Chuck Todd of Meet the Press had a total meltdown in his interview with highly respected, R-E-A-S-P-E-C-T-E-D, respected. You know, Senator Johnson is very respected around here.
Come on, let's just for a moment here. I mean, if we send something out that has misspelled or the wrong there, those kinds of things, I panic and delete everything and redo it because I cannot stand something be grammatically incorrect. And the president just types this trash out and doesn't even go back to correct. But please go ahead.
Highly respected Senator at Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, seems that a not very bright Chuck just wasn't getting the answers he was looking for in order to make me look as bad as possible. I did nothing. All caps. Wrong exclamation point. That's what Trump tweeted out. Now, Dom, we had Rojo on the show last Wednesday, and we, I think, did much better than Chuck Todd at getting to the heart of the issue. Dom, we've got a little sound. Want to play it for the audience. Fancy Brian, going to need your help. Woodcut. Oh, not the Betty Davis eyes. Chuck Todd does have Betty Davis eyes, though, but play Ron Johnson on this fine program, Devil's Advocates, last Wednesday, Play for the People. Should Trump use the power of the presidency to influence foreign power, sir? For investigation of his own political rivals.
First of all, we're always...
It sounds bad when either one does.
We are always trying to influence foreign powers to try and be on board with us. In terms of using influence to get to the truth, I have no problem with that, and that's how I interpret this. And that's what I want to do. I want to get to the truth. I want to know what happened or what didn't happen.
So then it is okay in your mind, Senator, that the president withhold $400 million in armament aid to a foreign country if they don't do your bidding to investigate a political rival.
That is not.
Okay,
that's
that would be bad. Yes,
that's your interpretation.
Yes,
okay?
and that would be bad if that were the case.
That is not what I believe happened here.
But if that were to be the case, would you be against it?
I certainly wouldn't like the connection to those two things.
But the money was being withheld prior, and the conversation was predicated on do us a favor.
You do realize before this ever blew up in the public's eye, he'd already released the aid. Apparently, folks like me...
September 11th, the day after Adam Schiff announced there was a whistleblower complaint, Ron.
Yes.
Timing perhaps conspicuous.
It's been released.
Maybe it was your trip, man. Maybe you freed up the money, Ron.
Maybe I'm more persuasive.
Wrong.
I think I had him on the spot there, Dom. Of course. September 10th was the day that Adam Schiff, the Intelligence Committee chairman in the House, announced that there was a whistleblower complaint, and after being held up for nearly a year since the U.S. Congress had appropriated about $400 million for Ukraine military aid, to keep the Russians off their border, well, about a year later, one day after Adam Schiff makes the announcement of a whistleblower complaint, then and only then was the money released. So, Ron, don't try to tell me it was before any public pressure on this issue. No, they realized the day before they had to get out in front of this any way they could because their gooses were freaking cooked.
The devil's in the details. Fact checker rates Ron Johnson's statement that the aid was released before this all blew up in the public as, oh, hell no. 844-967-2789. Hell yes. Wisco Paul, you're up. Thanks for calling. What do you got?
Thanks for taking my call, Devils. With me, it all started with the roads. Just fix the roads. And it's unbelievable where the show has went since then. I always try to call in and once in a while I might misread a email, like the Elizabeth Warren thing. But the bottom line here is Comey, I think, helped Hillary lose. And what's the deal with Ron Johnson? Is this because of the NRA money, the Russian money, or what's going on with this guy?
God, one has to wonder. I mean, he's not up for re-election. He can look as buffoonish as he wants to look in the 2020 cycle because he's not up for re-election in till 2022, Paul. And rumor on the street, although he said this before, is he doesn't want to run again for senator. But right now, if he had a re-election campaign in full swing, I think he'd be trailing in the state of Wisconsin. You could beat Ron Johnson this year if you ran for senator, Paul.
Thanks for the call, Paul. 844-967-2789.
I'm not sure if this will be disastrous if Johnson does indeed choose to run again. But history, what I bet you? Last Wednesday, Dom, I bet you $1. History will not judge the actions of Ron Johnson or this president kindly. He's on the wrong side of history, but he's a friend of yours. And a fine booking last Wednesday.
You're welcome.
Should invite him back.
Yes, we should.
We are the Devil's Advocates. Never lazy, low-energy Chuck Todd eyes. We've got energy. We've got spirit in our eyes, Dom. Come back with us. I'm going to do one of the most spirited things I'd like to do. Walker Bash in hour 2. Can't wait for it.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Ron
Johnson is right.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's LGBTQ Power of Pride Presidential Town Hall this Thursday, October 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. 10 Democratic presidential hopefuls participate in an LGBTQ Power of Pride Town Hall beginning at 7 p.m. this Thursday on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
New trade deal, Syria withdrawal. I'm Mike Moss. A new U.S.-Japan trade deal gives U.S. farmers a market they've been at a disadvantage in since the president pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership more than 2 years ago.
In the United States, these deals are a game changer for our farmers and our ranchers. We love our farmers and we love our ranchers. We've been working very hard on this, providing them with significantly enhanced access to a critical foreign market.
Still unresolved is the U.S.-Japan dispute over auto trade. Republicans aren't shy today in criticizing the president's decision to withdraw U.S. forces from northern Syria. More from White House correspondent Bob Costantini.
The president's former United Nations ambassador Nikki Haley joins the chorus against letting Turkey take control of northeastern Syria. In a tweet, she says, "The Kurds were instrumental in our successful fight against ISIS in Syria. Leaving them to die is a big mistake." She ends with the hashtag, "Turkey is not our friend."
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is asking the president to reverse his decision and exercise American leadership. Bernie Sanders says he is taking his first steps toward resuming campaigning after having a heart attack last week.
Getting back to work a little bit right now. But mostly what I'm trying to do is, I used to walk a good distance every day, and I got out of that habit. I'm trying to get back into it.
Democrats have subpoenaed more White House and Pentagon officials, and correspondent Manu Raju says they want to talk with international associates of Rudy Giuliani, who've refused to hand over documents.
Democrats are now warning that they will subpoena for their appearance if they don't get compliance, and they will subpoena for those documents.
Major League Baseball postseason. The Tampa Rays have defeated the Houston Astros 10-3. Houston leads that series 2-1. Game 4 tomorrow in Tampa. On Wall Street, the Dow down 95, S&P down 13. I'm Mike Moss.
Connie executive Chris Abele wants to look like a hero. He just announced that he is restoring pieces of bus service that he had cut for 2020. Why did Abele cut those routes anyway? He claims a budget deficit, but upon a recent Economist investigation, last year MCTS operating expenses were under budget. In fact, almost $46 million under budget since 2015. How did that happen? Last year, MCTS personnel expenses were under budget, and they have been nearly $40 million under budget since 2015. This is part of a larger expose on the county budget. Look for it in local news in the coming weeks. Isn't it time to stop MCTS deficit by design at the expense of riders and employees? Call Chris Abele and tell him to put Milwaukee Transit Service on a secure funding basis once and for all. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
Several Chinese businesses are suspending ties with the Houston Rockets after the NBA team's general manager expressed support for Hong Kong's pro-democracy protests.
Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong. Those are the words in a now-deleted weekend tweet from Rockets GM Daryl Morey, something he says he didn't mean to cause any offense to Rockets fans and friends of his in China. But backlash followed quickly, threatening multi-billion-dollar deals, despite owner Tillman Fertitta denouncing the tweet. Sponsors are cutting ties, and the Chinese Basketball Association is suspending cooperation with the Texas-based team, says chairman and former Rocket Yao Ming. Tencent Sports also says it will temporarily stop streaming Rockets games too. Nearly 500 million people in China watched the NBA on Tencent last season. I'm Joe Ramsey.
Another big retailer moving on vaping. Kroger is stopping its sale of e-cigarettes amid public concern about vaping-related illnesses and deaths. There have been more than 1,000 lung injuries and 18 confirmed deaths linked to vaping. I'm Mike Moss.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Scott Walker tweeting out from a La Quinta in a Rancho del Salillo Ronald Reagan fashion shirt.
You know,
only
as a
available
guy
online.
who's wearing a Bernie Sanders shirt, how can you
Mine's
rip on
bootleg.
a guy for wearing a Ronald Reagan shirt?
Buddy, I got a Bernie bootleg on. This is cool on so many levels. You don't even know how cool I
I
am.
do not. If it could just be a little tighter.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The company that is supposed to be building the Couture project at Milwaukee's lakefront is nearly 9 months late on paying its 2018 property tax bill. The Couture is planned to be a 44-story high-rise with 322 apartments that will stand just across the street from the north entrance to the Summerfest grounds. The amount now owed by Barrett Lowe Visionary Development, LLC, the developer, is more than $400,000. Richard Barrett, who operates the company, said the problem was just an oversight and they just found out about it on Friday. In a statement, he said the company will be in touch with the city to promptly complete the payment. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: clear skies, lows around 46 in Milwaukee, 41 in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. There's Ron Johnson getting interviewed by Chuck Todd again. I mean, between the Morning Joe, I saw the Morning Joe crew light his ass up. Everybody has got Ron Johnson on their lips. And for the most part, other than Donald Trump, nobody much cared for his unhinged performance. But anyways, he's a friend of ours, right? He's still a friend, right, Dom?
That's true.
He meant to, tell us the truth, he claimed, before he came on the program. I did ask him specifically, and one other note I would make. Now, Ron Johnson, he carries water for the president on air. But when you get him off air, I mean, even specifically, I asked him questions about the tax bill, right? And Ron Johnson was very proud when the Trump tax cuts first went through to tell me all about designated S-corps.
Yes.
I saw a reduction in my tax rate down to 21%. We're going to do great under this. Right, Crudy? That's what Ron said to me. Now, the other day, between commercials, I'm saying, Ron, I'm paying a higher threshold of taxes on less earnings this year. Where is my promised tax cut? Oh, I really didn't care for the Trump tax cuts. What?
Well, you got a tax cut. The tax rate is lower. You just lost a bunch of your, write-offs.
And therefore, I have a higher threshold of payment to the federal government. But that's not what Ron promised me. And Ron disavowed, I'm never really for those taxes.
Yeah.
That's not what you told us prior, Ron. Right?
Yes.
So, anyways, here's the only point I make in bringing Ron up for the very last time perhaps on this show. Ron always tries to distance himself from the president, the opinion, the tweeting, the goofiness, the unhingedness. Well, it's always Ron trying to set himself aside. Oh, boys, blah, 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 blah. It's always, that's Trump. That's not my belief. That's Trump's belief. But then he gets on the air, be it with us or be it with Chuck Todd, and I'd say to a much worse degree on the Meet the Chuck Todd. And he's just adoring of the president's conspiracy theory, because anything short of what he's claiming. I mean, he talked to the Wall Street Journal last week. The same Sonderland that told Taylor,
who's
hey,
testifying
let's get offline.
this week. Yes, that guy.
When Taylor said, hey, this seems a lot like a quid pro quo, No, the president explicitly said no quid pro quo, and let's take this away from the evidence of like a text message exchange, right? It's the very same Sonderland that made the correlation that Ron Johnson said made him wince. Well, Dominic, I got something that's going to make the entirety of this audience wince. I guarantee. Right now, people's skin, I hate to admit this, your skin is about to crawl, and not just because I'm about to reference the former Wankinator of the state of Wisconsin. Scott Walker is involved in this next troubling story. YAF President-elect Scott Walker to join Vice President Dick Cheney at a Beloit College lecture, and it's open to the public, and it's happening this week. And I have signed up for credentials, Don. I'm sure that Scott Walker's team will let me right in. Here's what it says. YAF is pleased to announce that Scott Walker, 45th governor of Wisconsin and president-elect of the Young Americans Foundation, like February of 2021, I guess he's moving into that role, will be interviewing 46th Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, on October 10th at Beloit College. The moderated discussion between Cheney and Walker will cover issues ranging from power of the executive branch to the importance of a strong national defense, from the U.S. response to the terror attacks of September 11, 2001, to the future of conservative governance. This event is free and open to the public. Media wishing to cover the event can apply for credentials via this link. I did apply for credentials. I'll keep you posted, everyone. Maybe I'll even post this one up. I would love to see a great turnout at the Beloit College for Dick Cheney and Scott Walker. And you know what sort of greeting they should be greeted by, Dom.
Passionate Wisconsinites should absolutely, if they care about governance in this state, please try to find some time to attend. We'll put it up on the Devil's Advocates radio Facebook page.
The YAF, the Young Americas Foundation, they call this the New Guard. Which one, Dick Cheney or Scott Walker is the New Guard?
Come on.
So anyways, that is the exciting news that Scotty Wanker is retweeting about on his own Twitter stream. And here's what Scott Walker says. For those freaking out about the latest poll in Wisconsin, don't know if you'd noticed, Don, but Fox News polling says Donald Trump is deeply in trouble in the state of Wisconsin. Individual state polling out of Wisconsin by Fox News. We'll talk about this in a minute. Scott Walker says, for those freaking out about the latest poll in Wisconsin, in November of 2016, the final Marquette poll had at Hillary Clinton ahead of at real Donald Trump by 6 points in Wisconsin. At real Donald Trump was the first Republican to carry Wisconsin since 1994. Yeah, but that was not a Fox News poll. And by the way, Joe Biden's up by 9 on Donald Trump in the state of Wisconsin, according to the Foxy News. And, you know, we like us some Charles Franklin. Everybody sort of had that last election off. But Donald Trump's approval ratings in the state of Wisconsin, according to Fox News, are under 40.
Ooh, really? Wonder why that could possibly be with such leadership and presidential abilities. I can't imagine why he'd be under 40.
Well, Dominic, this takes me nicely to another article where I'd like to hashtag Wanker Bash. Former Governor Scott Walker, I'm quoting from thehill.com. Former Wisconsin gubernator Scott Walker called Democratic presidential candidates Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren wannabe socialist in an interview that aired Sunday. Speaking with radio host John Castamedias on AM 970 The Answer, Walker implied that Democratic candidates, including Biden, Warren, and Senator Bernie Sanders, would mess up the economy if they won the presidency. I think we've got some of this sound, do we not?
I believe we do. Fancy Brian, thank you so much. Once again, please do your magic.
And despite the fact that the media constantly says, oh, you know, the tax cuts only went to this group or that group, the fact of the matter is middle-class working America were big winners under this presidency, and it's why the last thing you want to do is screw it up and put a socialist like Bernie Sanders or other wannabe socialists like Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden in.
Now, I'd point out another tenet of socialism, right? Well, Wisconsin is leading small farm bankruptcies, leading the nation. Number one in the most negative of columns, which is farm bankruptcy, state of Wisconsin. And the farmer bailout, the Trump farm bailout, Dom, we're up to $28 billion with a B. $28 billion to bail out the farmers because of the tariffs that Trump has installed. And we're still leading the nation. I mean, that does not make those farmers whole. If you get 50 cents back on the dollar, that might keep you out of bankruptcy. That might keep, the farm open for one more year. But that is more than double the auto bailout that guys like Ron Johnson and Scott Walker villainized Obama for. And I would point out the $14 billion that we put into the auto bailout to prop up the auto industry was repaid with interest. These farmers will not be made whole by double that figure. And I would say that resembles socialism to me a lot more than what you're accusing the Democratic field of, Scott Walker.
That's a great point. That is a great point. The auto bailout paid back with interest. And this one, I'm not clear that that's going to happen. And we remember, maybe it's because we were in the throes of the Great Recession when all this was happening, right? But we talked about this at length, and this was all over the news. How much? What should the government do? What is the government's role? How much should the government spend? Are they ever going to get it back? What's going to happen? And this is like soft pedaled, man. Up to $28 billion, more than twice the $12 billion Obama paid out in 2009. I mean that. And where are the Republicans on Fox News? Where's all the fiscal conservatives, Scott Walker? Where's everybody concerned about that? Well, because it's their guy, it's not a big deal. But of course, the point is, whether it's paid back or it's not, and I would argue that financing with interest and payback is different than a giveaway and subsidy that will never come back. They are embracing socialism, trying to justify their trade war.
Before Scott Walker was a big shot making deals on the back of an envelope with a foreign corporation, Foxconn, that is going to bankrupt this state for a generation. Before Scott Walker was, doing moderated conversations with former Vice President Dick Cheney at Beloit College on October 10th, Scott Walker was, man of the people driving around in that Saturn, right? I bet you he turned that thing in, cash for clunkers. I bet he traded that POS Saturn in with a glove box full of brown bags smelling like mayonnaise and ham sandwiches. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates. Phones are open for you. Walker bashing season. It's always Walker bashing season right here at 844-967-2789.
If I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same across the world.
What would you say you do here?
I used to run track.
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Ohio Democratic presidential debates Tuesday, October 15th, beginning at 7 p.m. 12 candidates debate live from Otterbein University in Ohio. Hosted by CNN and the New York Times, live debate coverage begins at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 15th on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the People need you.
Madison Liquidators has officially moved into a bigger, nicer showroom off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and they are proud to announce they have expanded to provide educational and healthcare institutional furnishings. They have great new offerings of quality new office furnishings from industry leaders like Groupe Lacoste and Via Seating, and you can see the expanded and extensive inventory of used furniture online at MadisonLiquidators.com, or you can call Kelly and have her help you make a plan for your new space. Start today at MadisonLiquidators.com and tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, on Twitter, and on the phones. Talk or text toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, as mentioned, there is new Fox News polling out there showing Donald Trump not doing very well here in the state of Wisconsin. I found a piece, the Washington Post, E.J. Dion. Trump's base is smaller than he thinks. And his penis, but he hasn't seen that for years. But I read on. The debate over
the mushroom, you mean, as his former lover described it?
He never had sex with that woman. Yeah. Just got paddled by his own picture in Bloomberg. Stormy Daniels in Middleton this weekend.
Did you go see her?
No.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't talk the wife into it again.
That's surprising.
She's not a fan, apparently, of going to see porn stars simply because they allegedly had an affair with the president of the United States. No matter, she said I could take the youngest. I'm like, they're not going to let him in the bar, hon. The debate over impeaching President Trump reveals an irony. Those who favor it have far more respect for the president's supporters than those who oppose it. Critics of impeachment argue that the effort to remove Trump from office over his open invitations of foreign meddling in our elections will only ignite the Trump base. Those who say we should let this all go see his backers as an excitable, immobile block of people close to reasoned argument or new information. Closed. They're not accepting. Think Ron Johnson on the Chuck Todd. Those are roughly 40% of our fellow citizens, cast as an unthinking blob that will embrace anything Trump says and turn out in droves in 2020 to beat back the elitist, fake newsers, and the deep staters, no matter what the facts are. Those of us who support impeachment don't deny that there is a Trump base, but insist that mountains of polling evidence show that it amounts to 25 to 30% of voters at most. The rest of the 46% who voted for Trump have real doubts about who he is, how he behaves, and what he's really doing to our country. Even those of us who disagree with them on a variety of issues see this substantial part of Trump's constituency of made up of rational and engaged citizens open to persuasion. Polls conducted throughout Trump's presidency showed that his critics feel far more strongly about their opposition to him than his defenders feel about their support. The latest Reuters Ipsos poll conducted September 30th and October 1st found that only 24% of registered voters strongly approved of Trump's performance, while 44% strongly disapproved. Significantly, 74% of Democrats, registered voters, strongly disapproved of Trump, but only 50% of Republican registered voters strongly approved of him. Which base would you rather have going into this fight and into 2020?
Crudy, the 24% are the folks you see at the Trump rallies. Trump's more tepid approvers, at 17% of registered voters in the survey, they tend to stay home, take in the news, and ask questions about what's going on. The big gap between strong approvers and strong disapprovers was very predictive in the 2018 election. Turnout gave Democrats control of the House. Those elections showed that many who voted for Trump in 2016 were prepared to vote for Democrats 2 years later. This was a telling sign that a sizable share of Trump's voters are not lockstep apologists. Recall that the three key Trump states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin elected Democratic senators and governors last year. In Wisconsin, Senator Tammy Baldwin picked up 14% 13% of Trump's 2016 voters, while Senator Bob Casey won 12% of them in Pennsylvania, and Senator Debbie Stabenow got 9% of them in Michigan. If a Democratic presidential nominee can achieve those numbers next year, Trump loses. Moreover, a stack of surveys shows that while Trump has maintained a fairly steady approval rating in the low 40s, a proportion of Americans who actually like and trust him is much lower. An ABC News Wall Street Journal poll conducted September 13th to the 16th, before the White House readout of the Trump's Ukraine call was released, found a relatively high 45% saying they approved of Trump's performance. 45% approved of Trump's performance, but only 30% said they had a very positive feeling towards him, and 25% said they both liked Trump personally and approved of most of his policies. CNN polling conducted in September found Trump with a 39% approval rating, but only 9% of the same sample said they trusted almost all of what they heard in White House communications, while 19% said they trusted most of it. Again, less than 30% have confidence in the stories the White House tells. That's stunning. The bottom line is that too much political analysis wrongly sees this hardcore as representing all of those who backed Trump in 2016 because they wanted to send one message or another, or because they loathed Hillary Clinton. In fact, a lot of Trump's one-time supporters do not believe everything they hear from him or Fox News. A fair number of them don't like him very much. Economically minded working-class Trump voters will notice that his signature promise to restore manufacturing is being broken before their eyes as new economic numbers point towards a manufacturing recession.
Certainly here in the state of Wisconsin, we are one of 2 states in the nation with a net reduction in manufacturing jobs in the last 12 months.
And that's why you hear State Senator Fitzgerald running for Congress refer to specifically light manufacturing. See, talk about
man,
light
they'll lie about it
manufacturing
anyways.
now.
Fitzy'll just lie. When you're not bound by the truth, Dom, you can say lots of nice things about yourself.
Those advancing the case for impeachment believe that whether the Senate removes Trump from office or not, it's important to make clear how corrupt and dangerous his behavior has been. More Trump voters are listening to these arguments than their pretend friends want us to believe. And Crudy, you mentioned the Fox News poll. I pulled it up here on foxnews.com. Question number 11. Do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president? This is specifically Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Thank you.
Approve, 44%. Disapprove, 54%. 44 approve, 54 disapprove. Now, the strongly portion of it, disapprove strongly, 44%. So of the 54% that disapprove, 44% disapprove strongly, and only 25% approve strongly. So those strong feelings, as mentioned, almost mirroring, I think it was the Ipsos poll earlier as well. So these numbers seem somewhat consistent, and if they are accurate, certainly does not bode well for the president in the state of Wisconsin.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls at 844-967-2789. We'll jump a little more in the Fox News Wisconsin polling, and then we'll talk about Bernie Sanders' new proposition. No wonder why Scott Walker doesn't like him. Bernie's calling to take the corrupting money out of politics. Well, that's anathema to Scott Walker. He made a whole career out of, what, gathering largely, throwing out, casting a big net for all the corrupted corporate dark money he could possibly get his greasy, wankinator paws on. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your calls. 844-96-PARTY.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcrute.com.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. In the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872 or go to realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. What about simply raising the age of weapons purchases to 21 years of age?
We're sending 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds over to Afghanistan, and they're dying. They ought to be able to vote. They ought to be able to have a beer, and they ought to be able to buy a gun to hunt with as well.
Are you suggesting we lower the drinking age?
No. Can't they do that now? What is the age nowadays?
It's 21, sir.
We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
ATU Local 998 turns the key on Chris Abley's Pandora's Box when economist Peter Donahue joins the Earl Ingram Show this Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Abley's county budget threatens transit service cuts, the parks, and other departments. All are at risk while Chris Abley is doing deliberate deficit by design, playing shell games with the county budget. If you care about how your tax dollars are being spent, tune in to economist Peter Donahue Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Earl Ingram Show. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420-2020 cruise from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. We begin in the City of Angels with the Devil's Advocates reception on April 17th, departing the next day for a 7-night cruise with stops in Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico on board a shiny new Carnival Panorama cruise ship.
Expedia prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Congressman Mark Pocan says Donald Trump must be impeached even if it hurts Democrats. Pocan spoke with voters on Thursday in Dodgeville and said, quote, "You have a motive, you have a crime, you have a confession, and we have evidence." He added, quote, "He's admitting it and he's actually bragging about it," unquote. The congressman said that Trump asking foreign nations to investigate his political rival is a violation of the oath of office, and it's a crime. And the Packers beat the Cowboys yesterday, 34-24. The next game for the Packers is a week from tonight against the Lions at Lambeau Field. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: clear skies, lows around 46 in Milwaukee, 41 in Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine with highs in the mid-60s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We survived the weekend. Back into the grind of a Monday, but you know, it goes a little easier when people call us and, you know, throw their opinions out there for our consideration. You know, occasionally our mockery, you know, we'll see how it goes. 844-967-2789. Don't make me mock you, Dick.
Hey, Dick.
You probably will. You know, I've questioned this since he got elected, this supposed base, and argue with people all the time about it, and now you bring it out. I mean, come on. 25%? And of that, let's see, you've got these hardcore people that follow them around in their 70s vans with the shag carpet that probably don't have an address to vote from anymore. And so why is there this fear of somebody with a base of between 28 and 32%. I don't get it. I just don't follow it. The Democrats just got to start punching back at this guy.
Well, I think the Democrats are doing fine, but you bring up a point, Dick, and this is on the Republicans. Why would you fear that? And
I don't understand
when Crudy
that.
brings up, how history will judge Trump and how history will judge Senator Johnson, certainly that should be a concern for them. It's not about just defending the party. What about your principles? All you people had all these things to say.
What principles? They have none anymore.
Well, right. It was all the bailout. Remember the auto bailout and the recession?
Right.
Oh, we can't do this, can't do that. And now we're sliding $28 billion, and the Republicans have said boo about it. Haven't said boo about it.
And I'm not saying he shouldn't have done something for him, but the point is he caused the problem to begin with. Right. I'm baffled by people that still support him in any way, shape, or form. They're just not thinking logically at all, and that's understandable. Maybe.
Well, here's my thought, Dick.
Pardon?
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt your insane statement, but your statement of insanity, not perhaps you, Dick, but Donald Trump has the Republicans' fear. Perhaps not their respect, but their fear. And you may say, why do they fear 25, 28, 32%, the Trump base? Because that is the Republican base. He's taken over the Republican Party. And if he directs that 32%, that 1 in 3 of the broader population, but please understand, that's still a significant number of the Republican primary voters. So Donald Trump can still wreck your career. Maybe not Mitt Romney, but some other borderline Republican from a swing state. Donald Trump can either get you primaried or he can get you crushed, or at least that's the perception these Republicans have.
It's kind of nice, though, to see the Republican Party be duped by somebody who's not even a Republican. He doesn't know what he is.
He's an opportunist, Dick. That's what he is. And we saw it when he came to Iowa at the Freedom Summit, and we saw it all the way to the inauguration. He rolled into Iowa, looked around at the competition, Scott Walker included, and said, I can roll this crew. And he did, unapologetically. And they were all against him at first, but they were so weak and continue to remain so weak that the beatdown, they have not gotten over it. They're like an abused spouse. They need counseling.
Now, Scott Walker is going to be on a moderated panel discussion with Dick Cheney, apparently October 10th. That, I believe, is Thursday night. Now, here on our fine radio stations, Don, we'll be broadcasting a human rights campaign, the LGBTQ Democratic Presidential Town Hall. That's what we'll be broadcasting. But yours truly, man, at least if I get credentialed, I'm heading down to Beloit. And I would point out, free, open to the public. I would encourage all of you to go down to Beloit with me on October 10th. And as someone tweeted out to us, I think it was Lisa Joe, let's get the chant going. Lock him up. Lock him up, and that could be either Scott Walker or Dick Cheney. You got a war criminal and just a plain old criminal.
844-967-2789. Pete from Milwaukee, you're next. Thanks for calling today, Pete. What do you got for us?
Hey, Pete.
Well, thanks for putting me on. I listened to Johnson's deal, and, when you interrupt somebody like that all the time when they're asking you a question, it just shows that you don't know the answer or that you're going to give him a bunch of baloney. The guy he's way off on his conspiracy theories. And to say that on national TV that he does not trust our intelligence service is insane. Like you said, he could be subpoenaing these people and finding out himself, and he hasn't done anything. And
Pete. He just wants to get to the truth. Not the fact-based truth, but the truth that would help his guy out, Donald Trump. He just wants the truth out there, Pete.
Yeah, he, like you said, he can't stand the truth. That's the problem with Ron Johnson. He can't, because he's all smiles and he's all jovial, and then when you ask him a real question, he starts squirming like a little squirrel. I tell you, that guy that guy can't come up with a straight answer if you pinned him down, and he just can't. He's like that. I mean, and people should have known that when he ran for office. He didn't have straight answers. He just had a bunch of baloney.
Pete, appreciate the call. Now, baloney, you're getting a little close to Scott Walker territory there. He's the ham and cheese guy. But no doubt, I think that Ron Johnson, if he chooses to run again, this week in history, it's really, really going to, let's just say, clip his wings a little bit during his reelective campaign. I think it will be held against him, and I think we will see the full impact of impeachment between now and the 2022 cycle. I got to think there's some Democrats lining up to run against Ron Johnson in 2022, or if he bails, who's after him?
Well, come on.
Chaos.
Mulvaney is out there suggesting that it's going to be a rout. If they go through impeachment, the longer it takes, the better it is for the president. And, hell, the president's going to win the next election, Crudy. This is going to happen. So perhaps these Republicans, Senator Johnson included, are making a political calculation. But if
not
that's
predicated
the
on
case,
actual factor polling, because Fox News polling, and I've got it right here, Dom, Wisconsin voters, according to Fox News. I'm reading this from Fox News.
now you emphasize
their poll.
Fox, right? That's Fox. That's conservatives. They watch Fox. Like, that's where Judge Napolitano, that's where he talks on a lot, right? Fox News.
That is indeed where Judge Napolitano has called the president a criminal, despite the protestations of Ron Johnson and some of his co-panelists. But anyways, here's what Fox News has. Wisconsin voters are unhappy with how things are going in the country, oppose the border wall, think tariffs hurt the economy, and disapprove of the job President Trump is doing. That gives Democratic candidates the lead in each of the possible 2020 matchups tested in a Fox News poll of Wisconsin registered voters. So you had to be registered and you had to be a Badger. I read on. Joe Biden bests Trump by 9 points, 48 to 39%, and has the only lead outside the poll's margin of error. Bernie Sanders is up by 5 over Trump, 45 to 40, and Elizabeth Warren has a 4-point edge, 45-41. In each case, the remaining 13 to 14% of the undecided third-party voters is enough to shift the race either way. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to read on. Trump receives 41% support or less in each of the matchups, well below the 47% he won the Badger State with in 2016. At the same time, none of the Democrats hit 50%, not yet. The Democratic candidates mostly owe their advantage to women voters and those with a college degree. Trump does best among white men without a degree and white evangelical Christians. I'm looking at you, Gary. Here's a quote. Wisconsin is a tough nut for Republicans, and the president has an uphill climb, says Republican pollster Darren Shaw, who conducts the Fox News poll with Democrat Chris Anderson. He needs to reassure rural voters who are spooked by the tariffs while persuading suburban voters to buy into his low-tax, pro-growth economic vision. Now, Trump won rural voters by 27 points in 2016. They now back him by only 2 points.
Oh, damn.
That's a 25-point decline here in the state of Wisconsin, according to Fox News polling. I read on. By a 19-point margin, Wisconsin voters think tariffs hurt rather than help the economy, and more oppose building a wall along the southern border by 10 points. Now, just for the record, hurts the U.S. economy, tariffs, 47%. Only 28%, there's that magical 28% we're talking about, think that tariffs help the U.S. economy. Of course, they're crazy. They're Trump supporters, but that's beginning to be a low number. And those favoring the wall prefer Trump by 73 points, while those opposed go for Biden by 76. And voters who say tariffs hurt the economy prefer Biden by a 61-point margin, while those who think tariffs help support Trump by 55. What else? Currently, 44%, I think you mentioned this, Badger State voters approve of the job Trump is doing, while 54% disapprove. And views are nearly identical on the direction of the country. 43% are satisfied with how things are going, 55% dissatisfied, and almost half, 48%, rate the economy as excellent or good, while slightly more, 51%, say it's only fair or poor shape. That's supposed to be the best economy ever, Dom. And 51% call it fair or poor in the Badger State. Meanwhile, despite finding Trump's dealings with the president of Ukraine troubling, 33% say extremely, and 12% say very. That's 45% that find it very or extremely troubling. A 54% majority in the Fox News poll say there's zero chance something about their situation would cause them to change their mind about Trump. And 42% want Trump impeached and removed from office. 4% say impeached, but not removed. And 45% oppose impeachment. More Republicans, 90% oppose impeachment than currently Democrats' favorite at 82%. And in the race for the Democratic nomination, Biden is the top choice with 28%, followed by Warren at 22% and Sanders at 17%. I don't know if I believe that entirely, Dom, but I read on. Pete Buttigieg, 7%, Kamala Harris, 5%, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Andrew Yang at 2%. All others receive 1% or less.
Those are very troubling polling data. That is very troubling polling data on the economic front, especially given last week we saw unemployment, the lowest in 50 years. As mentioned then, though, there's more to the economy than unemployment. And, a lot of these damage being done to our economy are wounds that are self-inflicted by a narcissist president who thinks that, everything's negotiating with a contractor. 844-967-2789. Beat
Why
you
you
to
stepping
it.
on me again?
Steve from Brookfield, you're next. Thank you for calling. What do you got for us?
Hey, Steve.
Dom and Cruz, I need some punishment. Punish me. So I am a Trump. I am a
Thank
Trump
you.
supporter.
May have another.
Go ahead,
yes.
Steve.
And so I just wanted to bring up, what do you think of the economy? Do you think it's good that we have the lowest black employment, the lowest Hispanic employment, the
You
lowest
mean unemployment, I
employment
think, Steve.
Do you think it's a good idea? Do you
Well,
approve
here's
of
one.
that?
Here's one thing I would say,
How
Steve.
about a yes or no? A yes or no, guys. I want you to.
Yes, it would be good if it was an accurate figure, Steve, but when you make it harder to apply for unemployment insurance, then less people apply, and it reflects in a lower unemployment rate, which may not be reflective of what's actually going on the ground. That's why about 50% of Wisconsinites say the economy is fair or poor, sir.
So let's talk about the poll. I don't think that the polls are driving much that we Trump supporters care about at this point. What did the polls show in 2016 when he ran? How was he doing? Was he up at 50%?
He was trailing Hillary Clinton.
42%?
Now, it wasn't a Fox News poll, but he was trailing Hillary by about 6 points in the Marquette University Law School poll, the last one before the election. And obviously, Steve, that one was not accurate. He won the state of Wisconsin by about 23,000 votes.
Right. But on the other hand, that was when he had an opponent. Right now, he doesn't have an opponent. He has a gaggle of opponents. He has a tribe of people that he's going against. So it hasn't been narrowed down much. It's pretty early for that.
Tribe of people, is that an offhanded take on Elizabeth Warren? Come on, Steve. No,
Well,
I tease.
No, that's funny. You know what else I was thinking, and I hate the fact that we're so divided. It's always us and them. I don't know how you feel about that. But I think if we could sit down with one another and talk about individual things without putting one another, just like the gentleman did with Ron Johnson. Oh, he doesn't know nothing. He just was eaten up by F. Todd. And I just don't buy that. And each side, we are so divisive right now and don't like one another, and I don't like that either.
Well, Steve, I feel like in the state of Wisconsin, a lot of that really was Scott Walker. That was divide and conquer politics. It started with Act 10. It was a very divisive policy. I was nearly unaffected, Steve, personally, but as a businessman trying to do business on the Isthmus in Madison, I mean, 100,000 protesters is not good for business. I think Scott Walker led his policies, his 50+1 policies, led to a lot of the divisiveness in the state of Wisconsin. And I know it seems, Steve, like Dominic and I are, both Trump-hating lefties, but really we weren't. My buddy voted for Scott Walker in the recall. And part of our passion for doing a show like this, Steve, is we were getting shushed on the bar stool on a Friday night. People didn't want us talking about politics any longer in the state of Wisconsin. That's our joy. That's our passion, Steve. So I agree with you. I would love to be able to continue to have conversations in a forthright manner. It seems like you're a quite reasonable guy. I have no big issue with you supporting Donald Trump. We may disagree on that, Steve, but personally, I have no big issue with you as a human being just because you and I see politically differently.
I guess one thing that I just curious on your opinion, with the way that the Scott Walker recall went, there was so much empathy for him because they looked at the left as crybabies and coming out to bang their drums and just want to get the bum out of office. And so they voted, no, we'll keep the bum in office until he can get out on his own with a legitimate election. I'm afraid that might
At least I think you characterized Scott Walker accurately, calling him a bum, Steve, but please continue.
Well, I'm looking from your perspective, but I'm afraid that from the Democrat perspective, and maybe they don't see it coming, but they're doing the same thing that might have the same amount of backfire into the next election.
Steve, you might be right, and that's a thoughtful take on it, but I think history will judge this country if we don't impeach Donald Trump. And whether or not he is successfully convicted over in the Senate, there's clear evidence, Steve. I mean, if you watch him discussing with the Ukrainians or the Chinese on television, did it last week, go investigate Joe Biden. That's corrupt, Steve. That's an abuse of power. I don't understand how you don't see that my way. I don't see why you're not calling for impeachment. Because whether or not I supported Barack Obama, if he was making a similar call, I'd be calling for his impeachment. I know damn well Dom would have.
You know it.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We take all callers at 844-967-2789.
What does the fox say? Le who? The her.
I would really question somebody's judgment if they couldn't figure this out.
Just remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's LGBTQ Power of Pride Presidential Town Hall this Thursday, October 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. 10 Democratic presidential hopefuls participate in an LGBTQ Power of Pride Town Hall beginning at 7 p.m. this Thursday on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison. More power, more fight, the most heart. Gingras, Thompson & Walks is more than a law firm. We're family. We believe in doing our best to help people in need and right the wrong that's occurred. For more than 35 years, we've helped thousands of clients across the state of Wisconsin get the justice they deserve. Our proven track record of success isn't based solely on our knowledge of the judicial system. Rather, we make it our priority to get to know our clients and their cases so we can best represent them. Gingras, Thompson & Walks. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Charged, never convicted. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open 844-967-2789. Another sad weekend for classic rock and roll. Ginger Baker, drummer for Cream and Blind Faith, passed away at the ripe age of 80. Long live rock and roll. Crudy, breaking news-ish from the Washington Post. Want to throw this out there as well. Being reported, House investigators subpoenaed documents from the Department of Defense and the Office of Management and Budget on Monday about withholding of military aid to Ukraine as the Democratic-led impeachment inquiry barreled forward. The move came after Republicans stepped up their attacks on Pelosi after late-night tweets from Trump suggesting she should be removed from office and not him. State Department officials declined to appear Monday morning at a planned deposition by House committee seeking to learn more about Trump's efforts to press the leader of Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden at a time when U.S. military assistance had been suspended. On Sunday, the attorney representing the whistleblower who first raised an alarm about their July call said that, quote, multiple whistleblowers have come forward.
That'd be two or more, although you think it means two or more than the original whistleblower. We'll see.
That is my impression based on the reporting. Yes, the original whistleblower and perhaps multiple more.
You know, Lindsey Graham said if you forward the impeachment motion, then we're going to make these whistleblowers testify in public. Of course, the whistleblower is currently being protected for their own protection because the president of the United States is what? Asking for violence against the whistleblower, or at least implying that that'd be a good thing.
Well,
right?
in the good old days, we did something a little different. We're so nice about it. We did something different with people like that in the old days. Treason.
So I get the impression that the lapdog, Lindsey Graham, is trying to protect his president by threatening the whistleblower and forcing them to give public testimony, or what, none at all? We don't have closed-door testimony anymore? Well, not if Lindsey Graham gets his way, because he wants to intimidate the whistleblowers. And I had seen it written and reported this afternoon, I believe, at thehill.com. Well, if necessary, these whistleblowers will testify in disguise. It'll be like the Masked Singer up there, Dom.
In disguise and with their voices altered as well. I mean, and so you understand what, think about what the whistleblowers are going through, what the decision that they made to come forward on this, putting themselves out there. If this is just a political hit job by someone who, some Democratic donor, yada, yada, come on. Who would put themselves through that? Why would they martyr themselves? And for what, a book deal at the end if you live? That's absolutely ridiculous. And for, once again, the Ron Johnson, the head of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, to say that he doesn't trust the FBI, he doesn't trust the CIA. Well, that one I kind of get. This is, and he has subpoena powers and they can do investigations, and to continue to peddle these stories is certainly concerning on all sorts of levels. And you wonder why, as reported today, apparently the attitude in these departments and the FBI and the CIA, they're not feeling too good about themselves these days, in part because of senators like Lindsey Graham and Senator Ron Johnson.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. The happy hour is here. We're going to make you feel all better when you join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Can we call that treason? Why not?
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Impeachment probe, Syria withdrawal. I'm Ann Cates. House Democrats continue to issue subpoenas as part of their impeachment probe.
The subpoenas have gone out to Defense Secretary Mark Esper and Acting White House Budget Director Russell Vought. The subpoenas issued by three House Committee chairmen demand Esper and Vought produce documents previously requested by a deadline of October 15th. The committees are investigating President Trump's phone calls with the Ukrainian president and efforts to pressure the Ukrainian government to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter. They are also seeking documents from both Esper and Vought on the president's delay of foreign assistance to Ukraine. The president held up that congressionally approved military assistance until last month. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
Top Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, are blasting the president's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from northern Syria. Correspondent Ben Wiedemann with a statement from the White House.
The United States forces, having defeated the ISIS territorial caliphate, will no longer be in the immediate area. It goes on to say that Turkey will now be responsible for all ISIS fighters in the area captured over the past 2 years in the wake of the defeat of the territorial caliphate.
The U.S. Supreme Court has kicked off its new term today and faces decisions in the coming months on abortion, protections for young immigrants, and LGBT rights. Correspondent Ariane DeVoe.
Chief Justice John Roberts, he has institutional concerns on one side. He doesn't want the court, with its new conservative majority, to swerve too quickly to the right. But also, he's a conservative, and the right flank of this bench is going to want to hear these cases and decide them outright, even if it comes in an election year.
Losses today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 96 points. The S&P 500 closed down 13. The Nasdaq off by 26. I'm Ann Cates.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
Five9's, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy five9s.com.
Hey guys, I'm Maggie Dawn, your lady lawyer, legal eagle, and sensei of economics. Tune into my show, Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 on WRRD 1510 AM. Always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
Redskins have fired their head coach.
Jay Gruden is out after opening the season with 5 straight losses, including this weekend's 33-7 loss to the defending world champion New England Patriots. In 6 seasons, Gruden only made the playoffs 1 time and leaves the nation's capital with 35 wins, 49 losses, and 1 tie. Gruden's firing had been rumored for more than a week, and he was asked about the possibility by reporters after Sunday's loss.
I've been provided ample opportunity to succeed around here. I got good players, I got a good staff. We just haven't produced on Sundays.
In a statement, the organization said the team had clearly not performed up to expectations. Offensive line coach Bill Callahan will replace Gruden on an interim basis. John Stolness, Washington.
Mike Tyson is ready to talk your ears off about MMA. The former heavyweight champ is set to join the Professional Fighters League as host of a new online interview series. I'm Ann Cates.
Connie executive Chris Abele wants to look like a hero. He just announced that he is restoring pieces of bus service that he had cut for 2020. Why did Abele cut those routes anyway? He claims a budget deficit, but upon a recent Economist investigation, last year MCTS operating expenses were under budget. In fact, almost $46 million under budget since 2015. How did that happen? Last year, MCTS personnel expenses were under budget, and they have been nearly $40 million under budget since 2015. This is part of a larger expose on the county budget. Look for it in local news in the coming weeks. Isn't it time to stop MCTS deficit by design at the expense of riders and employees? Call Chris Abley and tell him to put Milwaukee Transit Service on a secure funding basis once and for all. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Senator Ron Johnson says he doesn't trust the nation's intelligence agencies. The Republican senator appeared on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday and recited a series of conspiratorial attacks on Democrats and intelligence officials. Johnson defended Donald Trump and said the press and Democrats have been trying to sabotage him since he took office. Last week, Johnson told reporters that he was blocked by Trump from assuring Ukrainian officials that U.S. military aid was on its way. Yesterday, when asked if he trusted the FBI and the CIA, Johnson, who is the chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, said, quote, No, I don't, absolutely not. And the Bucks play their first game of the preseason tonight against the Bulls down in Chicago. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour, but I've got more troubling news to announce to you and our fair audience. They could join us, 844-967-2789. Always a little happier with audience participation. You know, it's like cheating off a smart kid.
Come on in.
You know what that's like.
Everybody's welcome. Yeah, it happened to me all the time.
The Daily Beast, yes, I believe it did. You cheated often, I suspect. Trump brags about his unmatched wisdom, threatens to obliterate Turkey's economy. Audrey McNamara at the Daily Beast reporting, President Trump on Monday doubled down on his unexpected decision late Sunday night to pull U.S. troops out of northern Syria, leaving America's Kurdish allies defend for themselves against ISIS and an imminent attack from Turkey. Despite widespread backlash for the snap decision, even from a Fox and Friends host, Trump declared his inimitable forethought and threatened to destroy Turkey's economy if they attack U.S. military Kurdish allies, as they intend to do. Here's what Trump said. As I have stated strongly before, and just to reiterate, if Turkey does anything that I, in my great and unmatched wisdom, consider to be off limits, I will destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. I've done before! ! They must, with Europe and others, watch over the captured ISIS fighters and families, Trump tweeted. The president then reiterated his claims that the U.S. had taken out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. Trump also claimed the caliphate obliteration in the official White House press release, but left Turkey to manage the aftermath. Clean up the mess, if you will, Dom. Turkey will now be responsible for all ISIS fighters in the area captured over the past 2 years in the wake of the defeat of the territorial caliphate by the United States, reads the press release. It is time now for others in the region, some of great wealth, to protect their own territory. Trump tweeted Monday, Dom.
He wrapped it up with,
reports
the
Daily
USA
Beast.
is great. I'm looking at the actual tweet, which the Daily Beast does not mention. All caps, the USA is great, exclamation point. Now, I can only assume based on...
No, Allah is great in there.
Exclamation point.
I can only assume based on Rep. Jim Jordan's interview yesterday on the news shows that Trump's kidding. It's a joke, man. This is all a joke. Trump is just kidding because how could we possibly know one way or the other? And
Al-Qaeda!
He must be kidding when he refers to himself as having great and unmatched wisdom. Great and unmatched wisdom. Of course.
Well, he is a very
kidding.
stable genius,
Well,
Tom.
hell, just ask him. He'll keep telling you, with his wrapped up in a straitjacket and banging his head against the padded walls, he'll keep saying it. I'm a stable genius. Crudy, yes, some Republicans pushing back on this. Washington Post reports. McConnell even having some issues. Quote, I urge
Moscow Mitch?
Yeah, I urge the president to exercise American leadership to keep together our multinational coalition to defeat ISIS and prevent significant conflict between our NATO ally Turkey and our local Syrian counterterrorism partners. Major new conflict between Turkey and our partners in Syria would seriously risk damaging Turkey's ties to the United States and causing greater isolation for Turkey on the world stage. And I would just suggest that perhaps if Turkey was had some great isolation, that maybe they'd be, go into the bosom of, I don't know, maybe Russia? Who benefits from this? Russia?
And Iran. Don't forget Iran.
Also, Lindsey Graham apparently had some issue as well. We actually have some sound of this, Brian, if you would please. Senator Graham talking today about Syria. And this is another quote, too, Crudy, that you brought up, but I think we need to reiterate. 100% of the caliphate, like total victory. It's all over, folks. Now, I'm not saying it.
Mission accomplished?
Let's hear what Lindsey Graham had to say. Cut one.
This, to me, is just unnerving to its core. To say to the American people ISIS has been destroyed in Syria is not true.
But it didn't bother you last week when he was encouraging, China and Ukraine to investigate his political opponent, Joe Biden? That's untroubling to you.
That's like politically, that's better for him. So how do the Republicans, and quite frankly, you're right, you bring up a great point. How can Lindsey Graham claim some issue with somebody not telling the truth and then come out and say Donald Trump is not telling the truth? And Republicans, Trumpsters, if you believe this, and Lindsey Graham's your guy and he's defending you and all these things, he's telling you right now on this foreign policy issue, leaving allies perhaps to die at the hands of another NATO member, and conflict in the area would benefit Russia and apparently Iran as well. Why is Trump doing this? Let's hear more from Lindsey Graham, cut 2.
This impulsive decision by the president has undone all the gains we've made, thrown the region into further chaos. Iran is licking their chops. And if I'm an ISIS fighter, I've got a second lease on life.
And cut 3.
To those who think ISIS has been defeated, you will soon see. And to Turkey, you've destroyed the relationship, what little you had with the U.S. Congress. And I will do everything I can to sanction Turkey's military and their economy if they step one foot into Syria.
Well, why don't you talk to your buddy Trump about that, Lindsey? He's the one pulling the trigger on this. And I noticed what you didn't mention at all was Russia.
Russia. You think there's a connection? Do you think Putin told Trump to do this?
I don't know.
It's hard not to suspect at this late hour.
I'm a cynical guy, and you see how Trump reacts and all these things. Everything that happens, it seems to, if nothing else, benefit Russia just a little bit, one way or another. Who comes out? Who comes out a little bit more ahead every time we're jumping from one foot to the other? Every time we're taking calls from the conservatives, getting into the minutia. Every time that we hear a Republican senator that say that, hey, the Ukraine has the DNC server and it was, Trump was set up, and what about? Every time we do that, who gets an advantage? Who gets a little bit better position? Russia. 844-967-2789. Betsy, you're up. What do you think?
I think we should impeach the MFer. And it's about time, Lindsey Graham, that you talk some sense of anything. This is insane. And it's really frightening. I can't tell you, how can we betray the Kurds like this?
Who will Trump not betray, Betsy? Really? I mean, he's about to throw his vice president under the bus. He'd throw Tiffany and Barron under the bus if it kept his ass out of jail. I mean, he has no friends. He only has useful, gullible sycophants and accomplices.
Don't forget
until he doesn't need them anymore, and he
cowardice.
casts them aside.
It's completely obvious what this president is. He's a traitor to this country, and he's illegitimate to boot. And he's got to cheat to win. But other than that, I just want to give Tony Evers, Governor Evers, 2 thumbs up for the pardons that he's given that Walker would not give. And a lot of people are much better off for it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Scott Walker wouldn't pardon anybody.
I know, it's terrible.
You got to be careful. She might do a full Betsy.
Thank you,
That's
Betsy.
a term now. Someone suggested we make T-shirts. Going full Betsy. If you are unaware, Governor Tony Evers, for the first time in 9 years, is issuing pardons in the state of Wisconsin. Of course, his predecessor, the Wankinator, never pardoned anyone. Was afraid, there'd be a political price to pay the next time he wanted to go run for president or some other asinine pursuit.
Isn't he like a Christian or something? And don't Christians, isn't a big part of that religion, isn't it about forgiveness? I thought. I mean, I don't believe that stuff, but I thought that had something to do with
Christianity or forgiving people?
Yes, Christianity. Forgiving people had something to do with
I forgive your sins often.
Yeah.
And your trespasses, and when you trespass against me.
Yes.
And when you
going.
lead me into temptation and evil. 844.
I'm trying, Fruity. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
844-967-2789. Annie from Watertown. Welcome back, Annie. What do you got for us?
That old Christian tenet of cover your butt, huh?
CYA. I think that's like the 11th commandment.
Whose ass would Jesus cover?
Sometimes I wonder whether or not, the United States is doing things for peacekeeping in the world or whatever, but I think, it is true that we do. I'm just thinking of the chaos he's created, so now Turkey can kill the Kurds. I mean, what's next in the Amazon? The president of Brazil can wipe out a bunch of Aboriginal Indians there, and it just sort of opens the door for all kinds of chaos, doesn't it? When we've got a nut.
Yeah, we have President Chaos, and he spreads it around. Of course, as a leader, whether you want to be the leader or not, we are the most powerful economy in this world, and people will look to it, and they see the leader of the free world.
Not when Trump gets done with
acting
it.
like that. Well, hell, it doesn't give pause for anyone else, especially the strong men, Annie, right? Those types, they're all about it. They see Trump as someone that they can do business with.
Yeah, I guess nobody's looking. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
That's the same way my 13-year-old thinks.
So sad.
Annie, appreciate the call. 844-967-2789. You can be like Annie. You can call the Devil's Advocates. You can make the happy hour just a little happier. Call us. Doesn't cost you nothing. All you got to do is dial that phone. You can even text at 844-967-2789. You're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine event we're broadcasting this Thursday night, a Human Rights Campaign LGBTQ town hall. And the next Monday, Dom, on Columbus Day, you and I will hit the road to Columbus, Ohio. We're going to the Democratic Presidential Debate 4.0, our fourth debate of the cycle, Dom.
Oh, man.
12 candidates enter, and I care about 3 of them. maybe 5. But anyways, we'll be down there. We'll take you with 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. Devil's Advocates is only we can do it. And then the debate will broadcast live on Talk 92.7 FM. And, of course, WRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at News Talk 1510 AM. Or you can find us on the TuneIn app. WRD 1510 AM. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. More of your phone calls as well. 844-967-2789.
We dance like marionettes, swaying through the symphony, swaying through the symphony of destruction.
Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. You know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. Just aim higher.
You concerned about
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Ohio Democratic presidential debates Tuesday, October 15th, beginning at 7 p.m. 12 candidates debate live from Otterbein University in Ohio. Hosted by CNN and the New York Times, live debate coverage begins at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 15th on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the people need you. This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789. Let's get to them. Jake from Milwaukee, you've been patient. Thank you, sir. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Jake.
Thanks. Hey, so I got two things. One, Dom mentioned that, for the Ukrainian thing, Rick Perry and people are trying to get in and sell natural gas to Ukraine, and meantime, which is really corrupt. But at the same time, from last year, I don't know if you guys read it, 2018, Jared and Ivanka made $82 million while being in the White House as being aides to the Trump. I mean, if you talk about corruption, there's corruption right there, Steve. It's pretty big.
Jake, don't you find it ironic that Trump would point towards Hunter Biden, the kid of the vice president, and saying, too close to the old man, influence peddling? Like, that's not the Trump kids. I mean, it says on Eric Trump's business card, influence peddler.
Yeah. I mean, it's true too. I think he's got a reverse. Who was Bush's political guy? Turd Blossom.
Karl Rove.
It's like Trump has reverse Karl Rove. He puts his weaknesses on other people.
Well, he projects them very well.
Sully them that way. Yeah.
I think it's a strength. I mean,
Yeah.
a corrupted, twisted strength, but his ability to project his own corruption and weakness upon his political opponents, I mean, it's masterful on some level, Jake.
I don't. Thanks for the call, man. Crude, I know you are, but what am I? That's not very masterful. Well, what is masterful about the guy? Sounds like an absolute ass. He's tweeting today. Something about his great wisdom, unmatched wisdom. He come on, the guy that is not. How is this great politics? Tell me how that is great politics. The man's going to get impeached, man. He's going to get thrown out of office. That is not great politics. It's great until it's not. You're Teflon Don until you're not.
You know what he told the House Republicans? Doesn't want to see an impeachment on his resume.
Resign.
Apparently trying to polish it up and find a better job post office.
Resign.
And he also said the impeachment will lead to Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Sure it will.
I think the White House and Republicans think this is a political winner for them. Much like this president is a winner. It's too much winning.
You think that them coming out and saying that, you think they actually believe that?
Yes.
I think they think that
Trump came
they
out
believe,
and said it, man. Trump believes it. I don't know if many
Trump
of these
doesn't
Republicans believe it.
Come on, man. Just because Trump says that, you think he believes it? So was he joking or not joking when he asked China to investigate Joe Biden?
Well, I don't think he was joking. Marco Rubio's protestations aside, and
Jim Jordan's, right, and more and more Republicans taking up that attitude that somehow Trump didn't really mean it. So then what does Trump really mean? Does he mean it when he says that this is going to be a winning issue for them? That's the problem. The guy's lied over 12,000 times. Lied or misstatements or half-truths.
Yeah, but he lies to himself, Don, because...
So doesn't mean he means it? How, if you lie to yourself,
he thinks this
is
a political winner. He has taken a tremendous political misstep. And he does most of his actions with little or no forethought. See Turkey.
Right. See Turkey today.
He thought that this would be a political winner, Dom. In fact, he released the transcript of the conversation with him and Zelensky, right? He either was trying to entice Nancy Pelosi into this impeachment battle, or B, he thought it was somehow vindicating and exonerating in relationship to the Mueller report, which was also, according to him, vindicating and exonerating. And Ron Johnson echoed that as well this weekend. And I said, Donald Trump is a master of projecting his weaknesses. No doubt he says asinine, crazy things. But think about Crooked Hillary and all the different monikers and all the different things he has done to basically preemptively attack his political opponent on the very thing that he is weakest about. I mean, he had Bill Clinton accusers at the debate with Hillary Clinton. He's got over 20 accusers in his own regard. But suddenly the story of that debate was Juanita Broderick and the other female accusers of Bill Clinton that he showed up with and put in the front row of a debate.
Being a specifically fantastic narcissist is not great. This is not masterful. This is how he is, and it's going to get him impeached. And you can BS a BSer for so long, I guess, and eventually everybody that you stab everybody in the back, there's no one around left to defend you. I mean, it's not going to work out well for him. Yes, you're right. It seemingly has so far, but we're a long way from done, and it's going to get a whole lot worse.
Here's the ironic part. This Turkey action, this abandonment of the Kurds, well, all the foreign policy hawks like Lindsey Graham, they don't like this not one little bit, and they're the very same senators that are going to have to vote against the House resolution to impeach this president. You're kind of pooping where you eat, Trump. Be very careful. Come back with us. I have to be careful on this show as well at times. 844-967-2789. The happy hour continues.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
My congressman, our good friend Mark Pocan, if Donald Trump's under attack, Mark, are you worried about his inspired followers rising up and voting him to re-election?
I am trying to approach this with blinders on when it comes to the political side of it. If he has violated the Constitution, it is our obligation to do an impeachment. And I think from what I've read, I feel that. I think when we get some witnesses in, we'll really have full clarity on that. But if it was just political reasons, some people say, well, then you're going to get, Mike Pence, is that good? And you can second guess every decision we ever make in politics if it's just about politics. In this case, I think that you rise to the Constitution. And if he has violated the Constitution, which I believe he has, there's obstruction on multiple counts, then we have no choice but to do our constitutional job and go after that.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCrute.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCrute.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
County Executive Chris Abele wants to look like a hero. He just announced that he is restoring pieces of bus service that he had cut for 2020. Why did Abele cut those routes anyway? He claims a budget deficit, but upon a recent Economist investigation, last year MCTS operating expenses were under budget. In fact, almost $46 million under budget since 2015. How did that happen? Last year, MCTS personnel expenses were under budget, and they have been nearly $40 million under budget since 2015. This is part of a larger expose on the county budget. Look for it in local news in the coming weeks. Isn't it time to stop MCTS deficit by design at the expense of riders and employees? Call Chris Abele and tell him to put Milwaukee Transit Service on a secure funding basis once and for all. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators. We've officially moved into our new space off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and we're excited to announce that Madison Liquidators is now Dane County's premier dealer for Groupe Lacoste. In addition to their unbeatable 25-year warranty, Groupe Lacoste has 10 lines to choose from, ranging from traditional to ultra-modern, all available in 18 different finishes. Give me a call and let's make a plan for your space, or go online to madisonliquidators.com and shop our complete inventory of used office furniture.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation has ordered people living in tents under Interstate 94 in downtown Milwaukee to vacate the premises by the end of the month. It is estimated that about 60 people live in the encampment. The Milwaukee County Housing Division is working with people in the camp to find them homes. And Governor Tony Evers today plans to issue the first pardons in Wisconsin in 9 years. The governor restarted the pardon board in June after it was suspended by Scott Walker, who did not issue any pardons during his administration. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, clear skies, lows around 46 degrees in Milwaukee, 41 in Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the mid-60s. Wednesday, sunshine, highs in the upper 60s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. The happy hour continues. Dom showing off his moves.
Oh, Rick ain't got nothing on me.
Found this one on my Twitter stream. Jennifer Rubin, conservative columnist over at the Washington Post, retweeted a Newsweek piece. Exclusive, according to Newsweek. Official who heard call says Trump got rolled. He got rickrolled by Turkey. And also of note, the president has no spine. James Laporta reporting, Donald Trump got rickrolled by Turkish President Recep Erdogan, a National Security Council source with direct knowledge of the discussions told Newsweek. In a scheduled phone call on Sunday afternoon between Trump and President Erdogan, Trump said he would withdraw U.S. forces from northern Syria. The phone call was scheduled after Turkey announced it was planning to invade Syria, and hours after Erdogan reinforced his army units at the Syrian-Turkish border and issued his strongest threat to launch a military incursion, according to the National Security Council official to whom Newsweek spoke on the condition of anonymity. A little bit more here. The U.S. withdrawal plays into the hands of the Islamic State group, Damascus and Moscow, and the announcement left Trump's own Defense Department completely stunned, said Pentagon officials. Turkey, like the United States, wants regime change in Syria. Russia and Iran support the Assad regime. And here's a quote. President Trump was definitely out-negotiated and only endorsed the troop withdrawal to make it look like we were getting something. But we're not getting something, the National Security Council source told Newsweek. The U.S. national security has entered a state of increased danger for decades to come because the president has no spine, and that's the bottom line. By the way, Dom, Newsweek granted the National Security Council official anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the matter publicly. The source said it would not be surprising to see a Turkish incursion in the next 24 to 96 hours. Little invasion on the horizon. And Trump helped out. Let me move our troops back. You're going to invade. Let me pull back. How is that strong policy? How is that the art of the deal? Let me withdraw our troops and you do whatever Moscow wants.
Let's just assume that he's got this ultimate wisdom. He's playing five-dimensional chess, and he knows what's going to happen. But in the meantime, what? Our allies that have stood there for us on our behalf that we supported are getting left to the slaughter? Question mark. And I would also right now like to say for everybody, is this a time to really wonder, does Donald Trump have business in Turkey? Now, I know there's there might be a Trump Tower or some investment, and I don't think he owns it. It was more of a name branding thing he got a fee for. But what else does he have in Turkey? Does Trump have business in Turkey? Is that a relevant question? I believe it is. Has Donald Trump divested? He certainly has not. Do we know the extent of his partners and holdings and liabilities around the world? I don't believe we do. And now we're talking about putting allies' lives on the line and dude getting rolled. You got to wonder why.
Dominic, you Google Trump in Turkey for just a moment, and I'll read a little bit more from this Newsweek account. According to the NSC official who had firsthand knowledge of the phone call, no hearsay here, Trump did not endorse any Turkish military operation against Kurdish forces, but also did not threaten economic sanctions during the phone call if Turkey decided to undertake offensive operations. Now, Trump's talking a big game on Twitter, right? But not on the phone call with Erdogan. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham said, the United States Armed Forces will not support or be involved in the operation. The United States forces, having defeated ISIS territorial caliphate, will no longer be in the immediate area. Well, if it's 100% victory, Dom, no sense in keeping the troops there just because Erdogan announces he's about to invade.
844-967-2789. Joe from Madison, you're next. Thank you for calling, Joe. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Joe.
Great show, as always, guys. I'm glad you were bringing up this article about the Defense Department being, quote, completely stunned about this choice that President Trump had made. I think, for me, it's this interesting deal where you kind of look at, well, what benefits Moscow, and then start to look at recent events. Now, when you suddenly leave your Defense Department in a state of being completely stunned, I would think that's pretty basic to discord within a government. If you then follow it up with Ron Johnson, who he's not just anybody, he is the chair of Homeland Security, and he's saying he doesn't trust the FBI and the CIA, which, if true, ought to be a 3-alarm
fire, if true? Or is he just saying that? And then finally, I would throw into the mix, I was just reading that the president is thinking about vacating from a treaty called the Open Skies Treaty, which is between the U.S. and Europe. And what it does is it's a treaty where they both sets of groups monitor Russian military deployments. Now, that's just under consideration, but what's next? Are we going to dance out of NATO? I'm stunned at Ron Johnson with all of this obfuscation, and I'm stunned that our Defense Department is stunned, and I'm stunned that more people aren't stunned.
Stunning.
I'm stunned, Joe. Any concerns that this is related to business in Turkey?
Well, we do have, Ivanka back in, I think it was 2012, there was a Trump Tower that was set up in Istanbul, and certainly he's not divested from that Trump Tower. How much, as you said, is it just a name on the front? Or
that's my understanding. Did a little searching here, Joe. That's my understanding. Thank you for the call, Joe. Go ahead, Curdy.
Reminder, according to Mother Jones, Trump has a massive conflict of interest in Turkey. This published about 5 hours ago. Sunday night, the Trump administration announced that U.S. troops would be pulling back from their positions in northern Syria, allowing Turkey to move into the region controlled by Kurdish forces that had fought with the U.S. against ISIS. So we're throwing an ally overboard. Trump's announcement is a big win for Turkish President Erdogan and has already enraged many of the American national security circles, including Trump's allies, who say it reverses years of U.S. policy. Got to turn the page. Kurdish leaders are being more blunt, saying it qualifies as a betrayal. Whatever else it may be, Trump's policy towards Turkey is also a significant conflict of interest, as Trump himself has admitted. In 2015, while running for president, Trump gave an interview to Stephen Bannon, not yet his campaign manager, in which he talked about Turkey. Right away, he admitted that his business interest in the country would make it difficult for him to deal with Turkey with a clear mind. I have little conflicts of interest because I have a major building in Istanbul, Trump told Bannon during a Breitbart radio show. It's a tremendously successful job. It's called Trump Towers, 2 towers instead of 1, not the usual 1. It's 2. Those Trump Towers are a pair of glass buildings in Istanbul that have borne Trump's name since 2012. Trump doesn't own the buildings, as you mentioned, Dom. The situation might be less complicated if he did. Instead, Trump licenses his brand to the building's actual owner, Turkish business magnate Eden Dogan, who has been described as the single largest payer of taxes in Turkey, is a one-time antagonist of Erdogan, who is now in step with the strongmen. And the conflict of interest, the way it could affect Trump's position on important issues, or at least the perception of how it could affect his position, quickly became obvious after Trump made his comment. In June 2016, after Trump said he supported a ban on immigration from people from countries he said were associated with Islamic terrorism, he called them terror countries, Erdogan objected, and so did Dogan, and both threatened to remove Trump's name from the buildings.
Crudy, that's no small threat, according to the personal financial disclosures filed by Trump. Since he launched his bid for the presidency, he has earned somewhere between $3.2 million and $17 million in royalties from the deal. The amounts are given in ranges. The precise figures are unclear. Mother Jones goes on to report, less than a month after the threat to remove his name was made, Trump very publicly voiced support for Erdogan when the Turkish leader faced a coup attempt, and his closeness with him has continued even over the objections of some of Trump's most reliable supporters. For instance, in May of 2017, when Erdogan visited Washington, D.C. for a White House visit, Turkish agents violently attacked protesters outside the Turkish ambassador's residence, shoving past local police officers to do so. I remember that. That was quite unbelievable. Video showing him calmly watching the attack from his car. Although the House of Representatives, then under GOP control, voted 397-0 to condemn the attacks, Trump refused to do so. A few months later, Trump praised Erdogan, describing him as a very good friend and saying he gets very high marks for the way he runs Turkey. What's more, the relationship between Erdogan and Trump's partner Dogan is not an even one. Although Dogan is one of Turkey's wealthiest men, he is not nearly as powerful as Erdogan. In 2009, as part of what was described in press reports as a feud between the two men, Dogan's company was fined $2.5 billion for tax violations.
Ow! That's a way to stick it to your political opponent.
At the time, the media empire controlled by Dogan was widely seen as critical of Erdogan when the Turkish president characterized Dogan's publications as newspapers that print lies. Dogan later settled the tax case, and Erdogan attended the opening of the Trump Towers in 2012. And of course, Crudy, when he ran for office, Trump said he would handle conflicts of interest like this by turning over his businesses to his children. He didn't. Instead, he simply stepped away from the daily operations of his business empire, but he retains full ownership of almost all the assets, including the licensed company that collects royalties from Dogan.
So nothing to see here then?
Yeah, no worries. I mean, Trump wouldn't do anything untoward, right? He wouldn't leverage the power of the presidency. Hell, he wouldn't use foreign policy. Hell, he wouldn't put allies' lives at risk for a few more dollars, would he?
Let's not forget what favored daughter number one tweeted out in 2012. Thank you, Prime Minister Erdogan, for joining us yesterday to celebrate the launch of hashtag Trump Towers Istanbul, Ivanka wrote in April of 2012. The construction, made up of two conjoined towers, is one of 7 current Trump Tower locations, according to Newsweek. It's all in the family. It's all very friendly. But this one befuddling, right? To all the war hawks like Lindsay?
Yes, well, of course, yes. You have to question the motivation because, of course, you cannot trust this man. And I just wonder with the war hawks, with Lindsey Graham and Moscow Mitch, are they going to come around? Are they going to inquire, like, why? Why would he do this? Why? Do you think they might wonder if it has anything to do with his relationships in that country that were in existence before he became president of the United States?
According to The Hill, Brett Samuels, President Trump on Monday dug in on his decisions to pull U.S. troops out of northern Syria as Turkey prepares an operation in the region, while members of his own party lined up to criticize the move. Speaking to reporters in the Roosevelt Room of the White House, Trump said he has great respect for the prominent Republicans who are urging him to reconsider his strategy, but that it's time to come back home. We've been there for many, 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 many years, beyond what we were supposed to be, not fighting, just there, and it's time to come back home, Trump said in his first public remarks since the shift was announced late Sunday. But I can understand the other side of it, he continued. But if you go by the other side, that means we should never, ever come home. Well, maybe not the week that Erdogan has said he's going to invade Syria. Maybe not that week. The president lamented that the most difficult aspect of his job is writing letters to the families of soldiers killed overseas. You know, Cadet Bonespurs takes that quite hard. He described writing to families of soldiers killed by mines or snipers, called it devastating. We're willing to do what we have to do, but there has to be an end game, he said. And if you stay, it's going to be the same thing. Eventually, you're going to have to leave. I hope this guy leaves soon. Can't wait till he leaves.
Please leave.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. One last segment in this big show for your participation. And you're going to have to dial, doesn't take much effort, 844-967-2789. It's a free call for you, although we've never established clearly if you text us in whether or not you get rickrolled with some local charges on your phone bill. That's up to you and the phone company. Come back with us. One last segment, Devil's Advocates. Never going to give us up.
Never again. I say it. Never again. Never gonna give, never gonna give. Never ever. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. You never know, do you? You never know.
WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison will have live coverage of the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's LGBTQ Power of Pride Presidential Town Hall this Thursday, October 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. 10 Democratic presidential hopefuls participate in an LGBTQ Power of Pride town hall beginning at 7 p.m. this Thursday on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison.
ATU Local 998 turns the key on Chris Abley's Pandora's Box when economist Peter Donahue joins the Earl Ingram Show this Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Abley's county budget threatens transit service cuts. The parks and other departments all are at risk while Chris Abley is doing deliberate deficit by design, playing shell games with the county budget. If you care about how your tax dollars are being spent, tune into economist Peter Donahue Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Earl Ingram Show. This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420-2020 cruise from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. We begin in the City of Angels with the Devil's Advocates reception on April 17th, departing the next day for a 7-night cruise with stops in Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico on board a shiny new Carnival Panorama cruise ship.
Expedia prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast when we drink.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. Phone lines open for the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, 844-967-2789. Got to apologize last segment, butchering the Turkish president's name, Erdogan. The G is a soft W, Erdogan. Like Obi-Wan, Erdogan.
Dominic, little story at one of my favorite sources, the
Raw Story.
Alex Henderson picked up a tweet by Paul Krugman, and the headline reads as thus: Paul Krugman lays out 3 perfectly plausible reasons for Trump's betrayal of the Kurds, and they're all horrifying. Real quick, Dom, here is precisely what Paul Krugman tweeted out. So, did Trump just betray the Kurds because A, he has business interest in Turkey?
Maybe.
B, Erdogan, being a brutal autocrat, is his kind of guy.
Right.
Or C, his boss, Vladimir Putin, told him to. Remarkable that all 3 stories are perfectly plausible.
What Mr. Krugman did not offer was D, all of the above.
Well, Dom, here's one other headline at the Raw Story. Matthew Chapman, I think Joe from Madison pointed this out. Trump pulls United States out of a military treaty that allows surveillance of Russia. I'm going to read from this story. On Monday, the Trump administration announced the United States would be withdrawing from the Treaty on Open Skies, an agreement between 34 nations that allows unarmed military aircraft to fly over each other's territory for observation purposes. One of the key benefits of the treaty is that it allows the United States and its allies to fly over Russian airspace for the purpose of gathering intelligence. 42 overflights of the Russian territory per year are permitted under the treaty, including 16 overflights by the United States specifically. These flyovers were important to monitoring Russia as they invaded and occupied the Crimean Peninsula. But Trump has soured on the treaty in recent months, claiming that Russia is not in complete compliance with its obligations. In August of 2018, the Trump administration moved to block funding for the treaty in an annual defense authorization bill, and 2 months later, Trump officials refused to certify a Russian airplane for open skies overflights, alone among the treaty's signatories, but quickly changed course and approved the flight. Russia, for its part, has accused the United States of being in violation of the treaty, with the Federation Council Foreign Affairs Minister Durabov saying of the original defunding effort, "This is an attempt to hide everything the Americans will be preparing in the course of a new arms race." And again, a quote here, Dom. NATO allies and partners, and Ukraine in particular, have repeatedly stressed the importance of the Open Skies treaties for their efforts to monitor Russia's military, wrote House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Elliot Engel, Democrat from New York, in a letter to the National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. Withdrawal risked dividing the transatlantic alliance and would further undermine America's reliability as a stable and predictable partner when it comes to European security. And Naval War College professor Tom Nichols, a Trump skeptic conservative and military expert, had an even blunter reaction. There is literally no reason to do this other than to tell Rube Nation, I pulled out of treaties. Or maybe because Putin wants him to, right?
I'm going to stick with D. I'll take D with Krugman. It's both all A and B and C, all of the above.
Now, how do you think Lindsey Graham's going to respond to this one? Can't fly over Russia anymore. Can't have unarmed military flights, reconnaissance flights, effectively, right? Spy flights. Can't spy on Russia anymore. And Trump withdraws from the treaty. And he's going to say, well, because I don't want Russia looking at us. That's his explanation. Close the curtains at the White House, fella.
No one wants to see that, Trump. All right, perhaps we need to end on some good news for a change.
Is there good news?
There is some good news, Crudy. CNN reporting Erica Orden, a federal judge on Monday, dismissed President Donald Trump's effort to prevent his tax returns from being turned over to a New York grand jury. Woohoo! The ruling raises the likelihood that Trump's tax returns will be provided in response to the subpoena, although any material obtained through a grand jury subpoena is covered by grand jury secrecy rules, meaning it would likely become public only, Crudy, if it were used as evidence in a trial. Dismissing Trump's extraordinary claim that any occupant of the White House enjoys, quote, absolute immunity from criminal process of any kind, U.S. District Judge Victor Moreno said in a 75-page opinion that such a position would constitute an overreach of executive power. You think? An attorney for Trump filed an emergency notice of appeal with the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals minutes after the district court judge filed his decision, and the appeals court immediately ordered a temporary stay of the subpoena. In a tweet on Monday, Trump criticized the legal effort. Here's a tweet from your president. The radical left Democrats have failed on all fronts, so now they are pushing New York City and state Democrat prosecutors to go get President Trump. A thing like this has never happened to any president before, not even close. And I would just remind everybody, when Trump says that they're looking at the payoffs to Stormy Daniels. I mean, he wrote checks out of the business to her. He wrote checks
and the
out,
personal account.
And the personal account and perhaps the fund. He wrote checks out for attorney fees that weren't attorney fees, right? They were payoffs. And he probably took them and took the write-off as a cost against his income.
You don't even know what a write-off is, Jerry. One last tweet for the day. George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband. Silly me for writing an 11,400-word article containing illustrations of Donald Trump's pathological narcissism and sociopathy. I could have just retweeted this. Donald Trump's tweet from earlier today. As I've stated strongly before, and just to reiterate, if Turkey does anything that I, in the great and unmatched wisdom, consider to be off limits, I will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. I've done before. They must, with Europe and others, watch over. And who cares what he says next? Because that's not what he said on the call. You wuss. Stick around. A replay of the Joe Costa Show is next. Thanks for listening. Devil's Advocates, we'll do it again on Tuesday.
Can't find my way home.
I'm an extremely stable genius. I don't see any reason why it would be.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Gingras, Thompson, and Wachs, the attorneys with more power, more fight, and the most heart, are here to serve you, Milwaukee. From personal injury to civil rights cases, we are determined to combat dishonesty and injustice. And our team brings the fight with integrity, passion, and dedication that never quits. Together, we right the wrong, and we are ready for battle. There are law firms, and then there is Gingras, Thompson, and Wachs. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Impeachment probe, Trump criticism. I'm Ann Cates. House Democrats may go to great lengths to protect